A lot of people like to compare YouTubers to other YouTubers, but easily the guy that I've been compared to the most is LeafyIsHere. I don't know if it's because I make some edgy jokes. I don't know if it's because of how I look. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because everyone thinks I'll be fat in like 2 years. I don't know what it is, but everybody has compared me to Leafy for like 7 years at this point.
Leafy spent 2012 doing what every other person on YouTube was doing, making Minecraft videos.
And as it turns out, I actually was a huge Leafy fan back in the day. I still like some of the stuff he's done. And on top of that, one of my favorite video essays of all time is about Leafy's entire history.
Leafy had already abandoned his Twitter page in May 2017. And after uploading a final rant in December, Leafy called it quits. He didn't even say goodbye. So that's it then. Content Cop killed Leafy. The end. But that's not the whole story.
So today, we're going to take a look at it. All right, Chad, with that being said, we can get into our first piece of content for today. All right. So I want to take a look at a video that is one of my more favorite video essays on YouTube from the past few years. Definitely enjoyed this quite a bit when it came out. Okay. Definitely got me going. So we're going to take a look at it. Now, this video is from Lemon. Okay. One of the better video essay channels on YouTube, I would say. He does a very good job. Uploads infrequently, but when he does, it's very quality, okay? And this video is called Leafy Was Here, and it's kind of documenting Leafy's history. Now, keep in mind, this video came out before Leafy had come back to YouTube. This video came out in 2018. So like a year and a half to 2 years after he left, right? But this is a great video, and I think I have a lot to say about it, so we're going to take a look at it. It'll probably take me quite a while to get through this reaction, but yeah, and then maybe after this we can try to see what Leafy's been up to, but I don't really know. I haven't talked to him, to be honest.
You know, being a big YouTuber is a lot like being the captain of a big ship. You're in charge of this massive machine with a ton of different parts that you don't fully understand, and thousands of people depend on you to steer that machine in the right direction. Every sailor knows the tragedy of the Titanic, the unsinkable vessel, the ship that was too big to fail. It's a story that's been told dozens of times, and it always ends the same way, with the Titanic doomed to a watery grave. And just as sailors should beware of the Titanic's fate, so too should YouTubers beware of Leafy's fate. Did you ever hear about the tragedy of Darth Leafy the Young? When you look at Leafy's channel today, what you see is basically a sinking...
This is a crazy screenshot to look at. Obviously, I've looked through a lot of archives of Leafy's channel when I've made videos about his drama or whatever, but this is a crazy screenshot. 4.4 million subscribers. Man, this old YouTube layout was so much better. Oh, look at his the channels he's recommending. Under Coney 2012 on the far right of the screen here, okay? Here's what we have. We have Leafy Isn't Here, Luna, Grade A Under A, Quackity, Official Duck Studios, Colossal is Crazy, Nafuckers, and Dolan Dark. These were his boys, apparently, who he was promoting. Man, the old YouTube layout was so much better. I still like this vaporwave aesthetic. I will say, I remember back in the day, this guy called Mr. Amazing, he made a video about how Leafy had basically stolen his entire swag in terms of vaporwave stuff. I don't know if there was any merit to it. I don't really remember the video, but he basically claimed that Leafy ripped off his entire aesthetic. Yeah, Quackity, if you're surprised that Quackity's there, if you don't know, Quackity used to be kind of an edgy guy. All right, I made a video about this, I want to say a couple of years ago, about why he changed, but if you look at Quackity's channel, all right, he used to make a lot of, not super edgy, but a little bit more edgy than he is now. He was making videos about Onision, the Donald Trump rap, Roblox Sucks Part 4, Rice Gum diss track, Overwatch Sucks with Tracer's butt in the thumbnail. Like, he was making much more kind of meme-heavy content. I think the best videos he did were the Roblox raid videos. I really like those videos, but this is what he was doing back then. He used to be so good. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I don't like begrudge him for wanting to change what he does. I'd say he got probably about as big as he could have, being kind of an edgier commentary adjacent guy, and then wanted to move into a different area and go more mainstream. And you know what? Fair enough. You know, he never made an idubbbz apology type video, so I don't really blame him. I remember the Discord ones. I don't think he was close with Leafy. Well, I don't know if he was close with Leafy. I think he had probably been in a Leafy video. Quackity, Leafy. Leafy versus H3 in a nutshell. But I think he had probably been in a Leafy video back in the day, but I don't think he was like close to him. And in fairness, I don't think many people on YouTube were ever close to him.
Ship. His channel is bleeding subscribers almost every day. Like a ship taking on water, it has become completely unsalvageable. There's no way to stop the bleeding. The only thing left to do is watch it sink. Looking at the ruins of Leafy's channel today, it's hard to believe that this was once one of the most powerful empires in YouTube history. So what on earth happened? What caused Leafy's expedition to sail so desperately off course? Why did all of his fans suddenly abandon ship? Everyone thinks they know the whole story, and if you ask any old YouTuber, they'll tell you the same old tale, that the content cop, idubbbz himself, heroically slayed the beast that was LeafyIsHere, and that was the end of it. The content cop may have taken all the glory for the kill, but he won't tell you the whole story. That's where I come in. This is the real story about the rise and fall of Leafy's empire.
So to spoil this video a little bit ahead of time, Emp basically tries to allege here that YouTube had some conspiracy to silence Leafy to make his videos perform worse so people stop watching him. I think that's possible, but I also think that back in the day, I think people definitely got bored of Leafy because he never evolved his content, right? He just kept making the same exact thing over and over and over again. Once he got popular doing commentary videos, making fun of kids and other people, he never stopped that. They banned him for nothing. They banned him years later, though. This is not regards to his ban. This video came out before the ban. This video came out in 2018 when Leafy's channel was still on YouTube when he hadn't even come back. Leafy was so unfunny. I mean, you can say that looking back. At the time, I did find him funny as a young child. Now, looking back, was he unfunny? Yeah, probably. I would say so. He didn't have great delivery on his jokes, for sure. He wasn't the most comedically astute guy. But, you know, back in the day, it had its time.
LeafyIsHere opened his YouTube channel on October 7th, 2011, but if you look on his channel today, his oldest videos only date back to November 2013. So did Leafy just wait 2 years to start uploading content? No, it turns out that Leafy spent 2012 doing what every other person on YouTube was doing, making Minecraft videos. That's right, one of the most notorious YouTubers of all time started off as just another Minecraft Let's Player. It's really strange and ironic looking at Leafy's channel with less than 4,000 subscribers.
I feel like this is probably the kind of thing that back in the day in like 2018, or I guess this is more like 2016, he probably would have made fun of someone for making Minecraft videos, right? But he started by making a very sincere kind of content where he was kind of wearing his heart on his sleeves, right? On his sleeve, rather. All 5 sleeves he had. Making Minecraft gaming videos that everybody else is doing at the time. And he kind of just floundered in obscurity. He wasn't a very big Minecraft YouTuber. But one thing that Emp misses here is that he also was running Minecraft servers at the time. This was in the June the King video, and Leafy talked about it a little bit later as well. But Leafy was running a Minecraft server that made him a decent amount of money. He claimed to have made $100,000, I think, by the time he was 18. Yeah, here we go. How Leafy made $100K before YouTube.
What is up, Drama Alert Nation? I'm your host, FaZe Keemstar.
Google boss call your website. I'm about to have my dick crawl inside your mama's vagina.
Alright, which one of these name is Devin?
Satisfying? That's me.
That you? Okay. Satisfying.
This is like some talk conversation he had while playing Minecraft.
Genuine criminals, and I was one of the...
We kind of skipped a little bit there.
So if you guys didn't know, back in like 2010 roughly, all the way to like 2014, pretty much the entire internet ran on Java. No one uses Java anymore because Java is but back then everyone used Java, and I used to code JRats. If you don't know what JRats is, it's basically a Java rat. You used to be able to like put it on websites and stuff like that, and dude, they're just essentially viruses.
Hey, we brought one of our friends in here. Hey Jeff, are you there?
These are some of my favorite YouTube videos Leafy ever made. My favorite Leafy content was not him like making videos on Pokimane or making videos talking about whatever cringe kid there was. My favorite content he ever did, which was pretty good stuff, was when he came back to YouTube after the Poke drama blew him up again. He did a decent amount of videos where he just talked about like stock trading. He talked about at one point how the IRS visited him and it was very scary because his account messed up and accidentally didn't pay them a few $100,000, right? There were a lot of interesting stories he told from back in the day that I like quite a bit.
Knowing the behemoth that it would eventually become, it's easy to look at a giant YouTube channel and call them overrated while discrediting all of their success, but it's important to remember that every channel has to start from somewhere, and most channels have to spend years working their way up from the very bottom, including Leafy. Sometimes when waiting for their channels to grow, YouTubers get impatient. You look at your sub count and you start to see it as a score in a virtual game. That big number at the top of your channel just looks so impressive. That number is power. That number is influence. And soon you begin to get desperate, trying everything you can to attract a new audience and grow that number. Because if you want to make it big on YouTube, you gotta have a lot of subscribers.
This is definitely a, he's kind of saying this ironically here. You're going to have a lot of subscribers. Ep Lemon, but I personally had this very much early on in YouTube. I had, I was making a lot of YouTube videos from starting when I was like 13, 14. I was making YouTube videos, right? Making them consistently throughout high school. But I never cared about money because I didn't need it because I was a kid and my parents paid for everything. So money was never a concern for me early on. The only thing I cared about was making good videos that got me subscribers. And I really cared about subscribers, views, stuff like that. But actually making money was never a concern for me. I just liked the gamified kind of aspect of it where you can get more and more popular with time. I liked seeing, I remember the first time I was getting comments on my YouTube videos. I was like, holy, there's like 10 comments on a video. That's crazy. 10 people saw this video and commented. And I found that really fun. And I still do to an extent, but obviously at a certain point, oh my God, there's people commenting. It kind of wears off a little bit. I don't feel it as much anymore. But when I was starting out, it was such a cool feeling for people to be commenting on my videos at all. I'm an OG. I was there since the Odd Ones Out vid. That is a pretty long time ago. That's when I think the Odd Ones Out video, when that came out, I had 13,000 subs and I went from 13 to 50K in that summer. I remember there was this super cringe thing that I did back then. Right, on my Twitter account, I tweeted out like, right now I have 13K subs, but by the end of the summer, I'm going to have 50K. And, the people who were replying to me were like, oh, you should keep your expectations realistic. You're probably not going to get there. Maybe you'll get like 20K, 30K subs. You're not going to get 50. And I was like, no, I will. But I think eventually I deleted the tweet because I was like, oh, I probably won't. But then I had this like delusion in my head where I was like, if I just believe it, my actions will fall in line to fit that. And they did. That summer I did hit 50,000 subscribers. All right. It did happen. 15-year-old Tom was very pleased to see that a video had blown up and gotten 1 million views on youtube.com. It was a lot of fun. Very, very fun time to be. I was working at a restaurant at the time. I was washing dishes. I remember like going to the restaurant, washing dishes, and then going home and instantly hopping on my computer whenever I could to make videos. Wake up next day, make videos, go to work, make videos, go to work, make videos, go to work. That was that entire summer for me. It was a fun time.
And you think you can control how much that number grows, but if you're not careful, that number will begin to control you. And unfortunately, many YouTubers don't realize this until it's too late.
That's definitely true. I think that for a lot of YouTube people, this is a problem that they get once they get a decent size on YouTube, right? Like, let's say you get like a few 100,000 subs on YouTube, you're doing pretty well, but you're kind of stagnating, you're not really one of those big growth periods, explosive growth periods where your channel's growing a ton, right? And you get kind of frustrated. You're like, well, what the I want, more. I want more and more and more. And that's natural to want more as a person. In any conquest and any journey you're on, you want to, get more and more popular. But the problem is sometimes you'll start to prioritize the number itself over the content. And the content itself is what will grow the number. If you make videos people want to watch, videos people like, you will grow on YouTube. You will, undoubtedly. That's all it is. If you make videos people want to watch, you will grow on YouTube, okay? It's as simple as that. That is the biggest thing. People always say, like, what do you think about analytics? Analytics on YouTube, the only analytic that matters is CTR, which is click-through rate, which means how many people are clicking on your video, right? So if you have like a 4% CTR, that means out of 100 people that saw your video, 4 of them clicked on it, right? So getting the CTR higher so you have a good thumbnail matters. Having a good title matters, and having good watch time matters, right? Watch time meaning... if you have a 20-minute video, how much of that video are people watching? Are they watching 50%, meaning 10 minutes of it, right? These are the only metrics that matter. Everything else is dumb. You don't have to be an analytics guy to understand YouTube and how to do well on YouTube. It does not matter whatsoever. You just need to make good videos and have good thumbnails and be working on that. That's it. That's all there is. Well, I say good videos as if it's a pure meritocracy. Videos people want to see. When I say good videos, that's obviously very subjective.
Trying to produce Minecraft content on YouTube will quickly teach you a valuable lesson, and that's that you're a long way from the top. Everyone thinks they can just start up a YouTube channel, play some video games, and in 2 years they'll be driving up to their new mansion in a Lamborghini. That's the image that YouTube has expertly marketed for itself. But unfortunately, it couldn't be further from reality. You see a guy like Captain Sparkles get millions of subscribers from only making Minecraft videos. And you think to yourself, this is so easy. I'm just gonna do what he does and I'll get famous too. Because if you want to make it big on YouTube, you gotta make Minecraft videos.
That's also very true. I think kind of one interesting thing that I see about YouTube is people will be like, what that guy does is so easy, anyone could do it. Literally anyone could do what he does, right? I get this with my content, other people get it with their content. It's like anyone can do it, right? And it's like, okay, fair enough. YouTube in general is a relatively easy job, but also if everyone could do it, everyone would be, and they would be succeeding at it, but they're not. There are very few people who upload to YouTube consistently enough to actually get there. And the biggest thing about YouTube that matters is not some inherent talent. It is, generally speaking, just consistency, trying your best over time. Obviously, like, you know, day in, day out. You know, what does Jinx say? Eat, sleep, YouTube. That's what matters, right? And if you're consistently trying to improve your content and making content every single day over a long period of time, I think you will get to where you want to be, right? There's this kind of delusion that like YouTube's over. There are no new big YouTubers. It's closed off, right? I see a ton of YouTubers every single day blowing up and getting big channels, right? It happens all the time. What you don't understand is that there's no overnight success generally with YouTube. You know, back in the day, there were a few people like Fred that blew up off viral content. You do have those cases, but usually those people's careers kind of peter out pretty quickly, you know? It doesn't last very long. Almost all success requires consistency and willingness to learn. Yeah, exactly. And that's what YouTube really is, like with any other thing, right? But there's just no immediate reward for it, right? You have to work for, you know, months or years even, sometimes depending on who you are. Think of the age of making a career out of one viral vid like Chocolate Rain or Numa Numa. But the thing is, a lot of those guys didn't really make a career. Like they had a career for like a year because there was no one else on YouTube. That was all there was, viral videos. You don't really hear about Chocolate Rain or Numa Numa anymore. Maybe you do. I don't know. I could be wrong. There are some people who manage to get popular off of like one video, and then they can kind of later on turn that into a thing. Like Jimmy here, the guy who did like It's Wednesday, my dudes. Like that guy has a pretty big following now, right? But it didn't come right away. Like he had that video really blow up. I think it was on Vine. He got, you know, some followers from it, but it wasn't crazy. He had to build up like a Twitch following and a YouTube following over years to get to a point where he could actually make some money off of it, right?
This is everyone's mentality when they start their brand new YouTube endeavor. What they never seem to realize, however, is that about 10,000 other people have the exact same idea. Let's pretend you're driving down the highway. Say you want to stop and order a cheeseburger at the next exit. You pull off the highway and right down the street are a McDonald's and a Burger King. Now imagine that further down the street are about 10,000 other restaurants that sell burgers that are all pretty much all the same, if not worse than McDonald's or Burger King. Now which restaurants do you think are gonna sell the most burgers? That's pretty much how I imagine what it's like to run a Minecraft channel on YouTube. The difference being that on YouTube, you never see the 10,000 other channels just like you.
That's true. Time and place does matter for sure. It's not all, you know, obviously circumstances matter. Like if PewDiePie had started now, would he have been able with the same content, or just started now on YouTube, would he have been able to get to the level he did? Probably not. Because at the end of the day, was he hardworking? I mean, he was playing video games. It was, you know, he was still posting, I think, twice a day for years. Was he very consistent? Yes. Did people like him? Yes. Was he funny? Yes. But there's also like a time and a place thing that happens where you kind of get in early on a genre of content that really pops off, right? And that can definitely help you out a lot. You know, it's there's a saying that's like success is opportunity plus preparation plus opportunity, something like that, right? It's like you prepare for years and years and you try to make content, and eventually you might get that moment when, you know, the consistency you've been doing for the audience you've been growing really pays off because the content you're making really falls into the zeitgeist and is really appealing to people at that point in time, and then you really benefit off of it. But you're only going to keep that if you're still consistent, right? PewDiePie would have fallen off a long time ago if he wasn't consistent. When you got the time, type in Make Me Bad 35, the homosexual ghost. It's a classic from back in the day. I did used to watch the Make Me Bad 35. He was pretty funny. He knew Randy Stair. Fun fact.
All you see are McDonald's, Burger King, and all the money they make. And that's usually enough to keep people chasing the dream for a couple of years. Leafy started out as just one of those 10,000 or so channels jockeying to get his own cut of that sweet Minecraft viewer base. By May 2012, he was up to 3,600 subscribers, most of which originated from his flagship series Minecraft PvP Server Let's Play. Who could forget classics such as Part 38, Extreme Rage? By November, his
It's the whole blue ocean theory. The first person in the space is the most successful because they get the majority of the early market share. That's true. But does that success last is the question, right? So like look at someone like, for example, Captain Sparkles, right? Captain Sparkles was pretty early to the Minecraft thing. He blew up massively. But he didn't really evolve his content. He barely uploads now. But when he was still uploading, he wasn't getting a ton of views a lot of the time, right? Like he was, you know, very inconsistent. 68K views, 81K views on a channel with 11 million subscribers. That's not very good, right? But I just don't think maybe he didn't have the heart in him to do it. Maybe he didn't care anymore. Maybe he made his money. But whatever the case, he wasn't evolving with the times as much, right? Versus you look at someone like Jay Schlatt, who has been very consistent and consistently evolved his content. Jay Schlatt did kind of have that moment when he blew up at the right time, right? But before that, he was making videos for years. And now, to this day, he's still successful on YouTube, getting very good views on his channel. Not all of his channels. Why is that? Well, because he got popular, and he managed to spin that moment of popularity, that kind of perfect moment, into a consistent career where people still want to see his videos, right? So it is like, you know, you do kind of have that like moment of fire, right? Those sparks flying when like you kind of get lucky with like, oh, my content is popping off, right? Jay Shot was collabing with Call Me Carson, with Ted Nevison, with Wilbur Soot, with all these guys back in the day, right? He got a big moment, but he managed to turn that into a consistent audience. And a lot of people don't know how to do that, or they don't manage to. I think they get comfortable. They get very, very comfortable, which is why I'm thankful that I'm constantly paranoid that my content's not good enough or I'm going to fall off, because I don't want to fall off. But if you have it in your head that you'll be fine forever, you will get complacent and lazy, and you will.
Count was over 9,000, and by August 2013, he was up to almost 19,000. Decent numbers for sure. Most YouTubers never even get this far. Leafy's channel was almost 2 years old, and something was about to change. Minecraft surpassed its cultural peak in summer 2013. It would never again be as popular. Leafy had a very...
By the way, I mean, obviously this is in hindsight. I think Minecraft was more popular around 2020, 2021 than it was in 2013. I could be wrong, but I think that when Dream was really getting really popular, I think that Minecraft actually peaked in popularity then. And now it's kind of fallen off a little bit, but there are still a lot of consistently doing, you know, successful Minecraft creators. But I think that it'll probably come back because it's just such a timeless game. I can't imagine there never being another big wave of Minecraft content.
Very critical decision to make. He could continue making Minecraft videos and ride that trend into the sunset on his very average YouTube channel, and that would be the end of it. Or he could risk everything and start searching for greener pastures. There comes a time in every YouTuber's life when they're faced with the prospect of abandoning their tried and true formula and pivoting their content to a new frontier. It's a decision that I, myself, have made in the past. It's pretty much the biggest gamble any YouTuber can make. You build up an entire channel, an entire audience doing one thing, and then you just go ahead and do a completely different thing. Some channels have pivoted away from their original audience and experienced tremendous success. Others have done the same thing and killed their entire audience. Some channels never pivot, at least not until it's too late. Remember Captain Sparkles? In his heyday, he was gaining upwards of 250,000 subs per month. Now he's struggling to break 10,000.
This is something that I have also experienced multiple times. I think that there was this time period on YouTube when I was making content, and you know, my videos have always been written pretty much. I've always kind of liked writing out my videos because, I mean, obviously I'm streaming right now, but you know, there's no doubt that my streams are worse than my prepared content, right? Like on the fly, I'm liable to say retarded, to give bad takes, to not have as much prepared research. You know, there are so many reasons why writing a video is going to be better in terms of the actual content long term than short term, right? There are so many reasons for that. And so I generally think that my written content has always been the best. But there was a time period when I was making these videos that were written and they were good, but there was kind of like a ceiling that I reached where I was like, I think there's only a certain point I can get past with this, right? There was kind of an older style when the videos were more loose. They were less rigid in terms of structure. The storytelling wasn't as good. This was around the time I was starting college, maybe. And I started kind of pivoting into this more like quote unquote documentary type format that people like video essays, like, which they were always video essays to be clear, but I started pivoting into kind of a new format. And that's when, you know, I was kind of in this position where I didn't know if people would like it. I don't know if it would work out. And I didn't know if it would long-term be very successful. And thankfully it was, but it was kind of a gamble I was taking where like, I'm kind of changing up the style of my content to something different. And, you know, it was kind of a nervous time for me, especially because it was around the time that I was in school and I was starting to like think about making money on YouTube. Right. And so there was a big kind of question in my head of if it would work out. But I remember there was this video that really inspired me quite a bit. It was actually a video that Ethan Klein made with his wife. Right. They were talking about this, like, how they were broke in California and they could barely afford a bell pepper. They had to go to they went to the grocery store. They had to return the bell pepper because they couldn't afford it. And I remember he was talking about around that time being so broke and wanting to do YouTube and not knowing if it would work out. And he was talking about how he was like, I don't know if YouTube's going to work out. You know, it might not. There's a very small chance that it will. But if I don't try, I'll probably regret it for the rest of my life, right? But if I do try and it doesn't work out, at least I'll look back and say, that was something I tried and I gave it my all, right? You don't want to regret not trying. And so I remember seeing that and being like, well, I guess I should just try. And I did, and it worked out. And I feel like that's a very meaningful message for me, and I've tried to impart that on other people as well. Aren't you glad you made the leap? We all are. Yeah, of course I am. My audience grew a ton. A lot of different things happened that I never would have been able to achieve. There are positives and negatives to everything, obviously, but yeah, of course. And that's definitely something that I've thought about quite a bit with starting the IRL channel and stuff like that. You know, there's been some hits and some misses on that channel, but it's definitely been a thing for me that was like, well, if I don't try, it'll just never work out. Even with streaming, it was like, well, if I don't try, it'll never happen. And with streaming, I remember the first stream I did, I had 1,000 viewers watching me, and that felt pretty crazy. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. But I think the novelty of the stream was just kind of there, right? That was the novelty. Because the next stream I did, it got like 100 viewers, and I had to slowly build up to getting viewers again. And then I had to do it on this channel too, right? Where I was like, well, the Tom Dark channel is more video focused now. It doesn't really make sense to stream there. I have a stream clips channel. I should be streaming there, right? But I'm probably going to lose some of my streaming audience if I move over platforms. Like, not everybody's going to convert. But I was okay with that because I said, you know, I think this is the right decision. I think separating church and state in this way and having the videos exclusively on the Tom Dark channel and the streams and the stream clips on the stream channel makes sense. And I think I should make that jump. And I did, and I don't regret it.
He stuck to Minecraft content until late 2015, and by the time he tried to expand to other games, it was too late. Captain Sparkles had gone from one of the biggest channels on YouTube to completely irrelevant in just a...
This channel got recommended to me a lot before I knew who you were. Yeah, I don't know why this channel gets recommended so much. I honestly don't understand. This channel at this point is more popular than the Tom Dark channel in terms of raw viewership. I think it's probably because the content's a lot longer. Like, I'm posting twice a day here, a pretty long clip, generally speaking. So that's probably part of why, but yeah. I remember seeing you hitting 3K to 4K before moving. Yeah, exactly. But I knew that it was the right decision long-term moving, you know, I knew it. I was going to say something, but realized I'm an hour behind, so hello, future. Hello, future, eviction notice.
A couple of years. And if there's one thing I've noticed on this website, it's that if you stick to the same formula, you'll inevitably fade away. However, if you shake up your style, you have a chance, just a chance, of sticking around. And sometimes, that chance is enough to convince a YouTuber to make the switch. Leafy showed signs from very early on that he wasn't satisfied with just patiently waiting for popularity. He wanted to stand out. It was likely during the Minecraft era that Leafy conditioned himself to use clickbait titles and flashy thumbnails. Because if you want to make it big on YouTube, you gotta make yourself the center of attention. Over the next 18 months, Leafy would undergo an evolution. He would reboot his vaunted Minecraft PvP series. He would expand to other trendy games, Rust, CSGO. He began to experiment.
It's interesting to me that people don't really care about clickbait anymore. I haven't really seen anyone be mad about clickbait on YouTube in a while. But I think there is kind of a scale of clickbait where it's like, there's like a somewhat dishonest title or like a vague title that like Critical will do or like Oompaville will do versus like outright like I have GTA 6 when you really don't, right? Something like that. But back in the day, people hated clickbait. There were entire commentary videos just calling out people for doing clickbait titles. Nobody does it anymore. Nobody cares. Probably because it's just become so common and everybody realizes that it's just such an effective way to get people to get on your channel that they just kind of started embracing it, right?
With new video formats. He started a small vlog series. But most importantly, Leafy started to dip his toe into the wild...
I remember those videos. How to make a cup of coffee with Leafy. Very cozy content. I remember watching his setup tours back in the day, even being like, I should have a setup like this. What the hell?
Hi, everybody. Welcome to, like, the first vlog I've ever done in my life. I just want to let you guys know that, one, my house is a mess. But, two, it's snowing! It's not snowing, it snowed. But, yeah, dude. Pretty sick. Utah life.
I wish I had snow right now. All the snow melted, it rained. I'm pretty pissed off. We need to know, Tom, does it dangle? To and fro. This segment is messing with my brain. Why is it messing with your brain?
The young Chabot.
I don't like small dogs.
My house is a mess. I know. And I'm making some coffee right now.
This is where he reveals the reason why he gained all the weight, chat.
This is how you make a cup of coffee, everybody, okay? We got some coffee mate or whatever. I don't know what the fuck.
It's coffee mate. It's coffee mate.
Fucking pronounce that shit.
Coffee
You
mate.
get this shit and you dump it in there, okay? You know, a lot of times you only want to use a little bit, but I like sweet, so I just put like a little too much. I'm sorry, guys. Throw this shit.
That's what I do too. The coffee I make is straight up disgusting. When you get the peppermint mocha coffee mate, or the pepper. Or there's like these holiday flavors that makes any coffee taste like Starbucks. You just dump that shit in, dude. You just dump it right in.
Wild world of YouTube commentary. It started with a brief 3-minute rant on Google Plus in November 2013.
Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're going to be talking about the most loved comment system on the internet, which is Google Plus. Actually, I lied. Everybody hates Google Plus. What a surprise.
This was the first time any...
I remember hearing people rage about this on YouTube, but I was a little too young to like really get it. I was like 11. So I didn't really, I was like, what the fuck is Google Plus? But this was like an annoying integration YouTube had where for a time you had to have a Google Plus account to comment, and Google was trying to push Google Plus as like their new Facebook, and everybody hated it. Nobody used Google Plus. Now I think Google Plus is shut down. Nobody even talks about it. His name Leafy, my name Leafy. Oh, that's why it's bothering you, Leafy. You're destroyed, dude. His voice is so annoying. His voice is a little annoying, but I also think that having a unique voice is definitely an important thing for YouTube. I don't think I have a very unique voice, but definitely having a unique voice can help you a lot on YouTube. It just makes you memorable. It's like, you know, it can build a part of your brand. So anytime someone hears it, it's like, oh, that's that guy that I know.
Anyone got to see a darker side of Leafy, a much more cynical Leafy that would attack a topic with ruthless derision. There was just something about his pungent and nasally tone that made young, edgy people want to rally around him. The Google Plus video was Leafy's first rant, and it certainly wouldn't be his last. In 2014, Leafy would appear in a few crossover videos with other Minecraft YouTubers, some of which are still online today.
Dude, there's no way. Look how many people. They're all drinking their pods.
I'm pretty sure Para PvP was his server, from what I remember. Because June the King did a video talking about the server history, and it was a pretty good video. I like this video. These are two very different videos, but I like that June explored the ins and outs of his early career a little more than Emp did. But Emp's video is probably more like bigger picture, a better video in terms of like the broad perspective of Leafy's content and evolution. But June also covered him getting banned later on. Just two very different takes that I like quite a bit. He talked about the Minecraft serverisms he was doing and all of his evil hacking.
And was used for things as big as web browsers or as small as JRATs. As for what a JRAT is, the exact definition changes depending on who you ask. The J stands for Java. Easy enough. The RAT can stand for Remote Access Tool, Remote Admin Tool, or Remote Access Trojan. Different definitions describing a similar virus. A virus that can be used to remotely access the infected computer by doing things such as implementing a keylogger that records keystrokes in order to steal passwords and all forms of personal data.
And Leafy later, he straight up, I don't know if he ever talked about this on YouTube before this video, but he did later just kind of confess to the fact that he was writing all these evil hacker scripts, basically. And he did manage to make, I believe, $100,000 off of this first Minecraft server, which is pretty impressive.
Dude, if this works out,
Thanks
I
for
will
the
be
donut,
extremely
Jalen.
surprised. Yeah, they're all drinking their pods, dude. They all are.
Almost done with my Salamander Space Marine Army. Salamander Space Marine Army. Man, I don't really give a fuck about Warhammer, but this is such a cool design, man. This looks so sick. Damn. Good for you, buddy. Hope you're enjoying it.
It's weird looking at these videos and seeing Leafy act so amicably and casually. At times it sounds like he's genuinely having fun with his pals. Leafy may have been portraying a friendly outward appearance, but internally, Leafy was changing. It was during this time when Leafy would noticeably alter his style. Leafy started to implement his now notorious all-caps video titles. His tone would begin to shift from joking fun to biting ridicule. By February 2015, Leafy was embroiled in the middle of a major transition. He had only gained about 5,000 subscribers since the summer of 2013, and at the start of 2015, Leafy's videos were actually getting fewer views than they were 2 years prior. Minecraft was diminishing in popularity, jeopardizing his flagship series. His efforts were now fractured across an assortment of different side projects. Jack of all trades, master of none. If you asked any observer at the time, they probably would have told you that Leafy's channel was dead in the water. But no one could have guessed that Leafy's channel was about to become more alive than they ever thought was possible. All thanks to a small seed he planted just a year before.
Watching stories like this is always interesting because there's a lot of like rise and falls I've covered on YouTube where people will be like, this guy's never coming back. He's never having a career again. He's done. And obviously with certain, you know, examples like someone who's committed sex crimes or something like that, usually they're going to have a hard time coming back. Although some people have made a comeback after that. But the real thing to me is that people have a very short-term memory. People think very short-term. I've seen so many cases where somebody has seemingly had their career destroyed and everybody thinks they're doomed, and they come back and they get bigger than they ever were before. Because really on YouTube, what matters is not the controversy, right? The controversy will hurt you. And there are controversies that can help harm your reputation and destroy your channel. But at the end of the day, the point of YouTube is making videos. That is the point. If you make videos people want to watch, people won't necessarily forgive you as a person, but they will watch. They will be unable to look away. That is the meritocracy of YouTube. If you make content people want to see, they will continue to watch it. And that's all there is. That's all there is to it. There are plenty of people, I'm sure, that, you know, I've covered that, you know, you would think that they're on the down and out, and they end up doing fine. They end up doing very fine long term. So many different people have been like, this guy's career is done, this guy's career is over, and they come back and they're totally fine, you know?
Leafy entered 2015 teetering between making gameplay videos and making commentary videos. Then, he had a delightfully devilish idea. Why not do both in the same video? He had actually experimented with this format back in 2014, but he truly didn't embrace it until March 2015. You see, what Leafy would do is talk over gameplay footage with a totally unrelated story or rant. I know this seems commonplace on YouTube today, but back in 2015, it was almost unheard of.
So I don't think that this is really true. I think it wasn't unheard of. I think that Leafy definitely popularized it in a way that a lot of people were unfamiliar with it and then became familiar, and it was kind of Leafy's thing. But even back in like from 2010 to like 2015, there were a lot of like COD commentary channels who they wouldn't do videos like exposing people, right? But they would do videos where they would like tell a story while unrelated COD gameplay footage would be there, right? Like Wings of Redemption did it, you know? Obviously, he's become known for a lot of other things since then, but that's what got him big in the first place on YouTube. Or you've got someone like Woody's Gamertag, right? Or I think Taylor from PKA. I think this is the kind of content he was doing. I could be wrong, but I think this is the kind of content he was doing. A lot of people would tell a story over unrelated gameplay footage, and at the same time, I think Luna was also doing it. But Luna kept just doing storytime videos for a long time, right? J-Schlatt, well, J-Schlatt did it much later. He did it as like an homage to Woody's Gamertag and stuff like that. But Luna kept just making storytime videos. Leafy started making storytime videos, and then he started talking about other people. And obviously, telling a story about, you know, some personal thing that happened to you can be interesting, but you're going to get a lot more attention if you put some, you know, dumb YouTuber's face in the title and you're like, this guy just got exposed. Or you put a dumb kid's face in the title and you're like, exposing this stupid child that I'm making fun of, right? And because of content like Leafy's, you cannot make fun of children on YouTube anymore. That does not happen. I think the last guy to really do that and get big was Rice Gum, who got pretty big making fun of like Lil Tay, but nobody does that anymore. YouTube will straight up ban you if you make fun of kids too much.
Leafy most likely did not invent this style, but he certainly popularized it. Unbeknownst to everyone at the time, this method of placing unrelated commentary over gameplay footage was a formula for massive success in the YouTube algorithm. Leafy could engage viewers with any topic he wanted, while simultaneously keeping his videos in the gaming category. This gave Leafy a huge advantage over other gaming channels. He didn't have to be good at the games. He didn't have to be good at commentating the gameplay. He could pump out quote-unquote gaming videos while attracting broader audiences with his more general commentary and rack up more watch time than his competition. Gaming was, and still is, one of the most popular genres on YouTube, and the algorithm would begin to promote Leafy's videos far and wide.
And this is part of why Asmongold is so popular, right? Because Asmongold, what he's able to do is commentate on things that are going on YouTube. He has no real production value. He doesn't have to produce anything, right? He just sits and watches other people's content, and he usually gives good commentary from what I've seen. He usually has a lot to say, but he gets to watch other people's videos. He gets to commentate on them, like I'm doing right now, and that content in and of itself can then be posted, and he can post more than anyone, right? He can post 5-6 videos a day. That's what he does. And there's a reason why he's probably one of the more popular commentary channels on YouTube, right? Whether you want to call him commentary or not, you call him a streamer. That is at the end of the day what Asmongold does. So Asmon to me is kind of the modern equivalent of what Leafy was doing, where it's like no production value, complete quote unquote slop shitter content, but it just works.
But Leafy's new style of gameplay content wasn't the only thing drawing in viewers to his channel. Something far more sinister was also to blame, something that Leafy had foreshadowed over his past 2 years. Leafy began to dedicate much of his content to making fun of children. In 2015, YouTube was a much more edgy place than it is today. This was a time before the
I think this video is why I was using Adult Swim music back in the day on YouTube. I'm not sure, but it could be part of it. Because this is, I think this is the original Adult Swim theme he's playing right now. Well, this video got so many copyright claims. But yeah, I believe that this video is probably what got me into using that music.
Adpocalypse neutered YouTube's more mature content. This was a time when channels like Filthy Frank were at their cultural peak, and getting away with videos that pushed the boundaries of what was acceptable on YouTube. This new frontier sparked a new kind of audience on YouTube, one that craved more outspoken, contrarian, and abrasive content. Leafy quickly became one of the channels to satisfy this new demand. Starting in March, Leafy would begin to go all in on appealing to the edgy part of YouTube.
I think this is happening again on YouTube right now, by the way. I'm pretty sure it is. Because for the past few years, we've kind of been, or at least I honestly kind of changed around the pandemic 2020, 2021. But prior to that, for like years, like between like 2017 and 2021-ish, there was like a 4-year period when you couldn't really be edgy on YouTube, or at least nobody was really doing it, right? YouTube was dominated by very, socially progressive, PC culture type people. A lot of BreadTube type guys, right, were dominating the commentary kind of space. And I think that, they succeeded for a reason, because that was kind of a response to like the anti-SJW era and the edgy Leafy era. But now that's kind of coming around, where I think that a lot of people are sick of that kind of thing. They're sick of that those talking points, right? That you can't say that kind of attitude. And I think that's why like Fresh and Fit, Andrew Tate, Sneeko, stuff like that got so popular a few years ago. And now we're probably going to be going into another era of not being edgy. There's kind of going to be a conflict, I think, between the more edgy creators who exist right now and the more PC people. And I think especially with Trump being president, people forget, but like the last time Trump was president, as soon as he got in office, then the changes started coming, right? Trump didn't get in office in like 2014. Trump got in office in 2016 or 2017, beginning of 2017, I think is when he began his first term, right? Because he got elected November 2016. And so once he got in office, then the media started reflecting the opposite of that, because the media always is like questioning or criticizing or calling out whoever's in power. So as soon as Trump was in office, YouTube got a lot less edgy and a lot more PC. And then when Biden was in office, it got more edgy and more PC. And I think we're probably going to be entering, if I had to guess, another kind of PC era where these kinds of mentalities are duking it out now that Trump is in office, and the media is going to be very, very critical of him. The edginess definitely ebbs and flows. This is a cultural flip that always happens. Overton window constantly shifting back and forth. The pendulum is swinging.
He started 3 new series: Kids That DDoS, Kids That Are Toxic, Kids That YouTube, mixed in with other
Did he get elected in November 2015? When was Trump elected? I don't even know when the elections are. When was Trump elected president? January 20th, 2017. So he was elected in 2016. I was right. Okay. I was right.
general purpose rants, as well as more CSGO related content. This new brand of Leafy began to pay off fast. By July, Leafy had doubled his subscribers.
Did Tom just say the media always questions the president in power? You realize media doesn't just apply to like news, like CNN, right? You realize that's not that's not what the media is. The media is also YouTubers, it is streamers. Hassan Piker is quote unquote part of the media, right? He's not the mainstream media, but he is the media. That is 1000% what always happens. The media has always been far left. The media has always been center left. And if you're talking about like mainstream media, like CNN, stuff like that. And then there's Fox News, the one like big right-wing outlet, right? But like media is also alternative media, like InfoWars, right? That is still the media. Asmongold is still the media. Is he the media in the sense of like he's a news website? No. But the media just refers to people that are commentating on things online, right? YouTube is a big part of the media now. There are so many media creators on YouTube. Ben Shapiro is quote unquote the media. Right? Daily Wire is. It's just right wing.
Count. He surpassed 100K in August, 200K in September, and 300,000 in October. This was presumably also the time when Leafy scrubbed his channel of all Minecraft related content, all except for this one video, which, for some reason, you can still view on his channel today. Minecraft had quickly developed a reputation as a game for little kids, the very same group Leafy was attacking in his new videos. For 3 years, Minecraft had brought Leafy his only taste of success on YouTube. Needless to say, it had served its purpose. Leafy had moved on to big boy games. Because if you want to make it big on YouTube, you gotta act like a big boy, Otherwise, people might make fun of you. Leafy disposed of his Minecrafter past so swiftly that it was almost reptilian. Oh yeah, I should probably mention the reptilians. Back in my video about Trump's rise to power, I talked about how he used memes to greatly expand his influence. Well, it turns out that Leafy kinda did the same thing. Enter the reptilians. It started off as a small joke in an August 2015 video.
No, but these dudes legit believe that the Illuminati is real. Some of them believe that 9/11 was an inside job by the Reptilian Brotherhood. Dude, I can't say reptilian with a straight face, man. It's just too much.
Glad you come to join us.
After which
And this is a thing. This is a thing that definitely a lot of YouTubers do, but I think the problem is that a lot of them do it in a very forced, cringe way, where the kind of thing that turns into a meme is generally not going to be some like astroturf that you just kind of come up with like with a lot of preparation and time. Generally, if a meme is going to explode, it's like an off-the-cuff thing that just happens to resonate with a lot of people. That's generally the way to get one of these memes that really benefits you, right? But if you can somehow manage to get one of those moments where you say something or do something that is funny or connects with a lot of people, or a lot of people find it to be as like an interesting point, or just like, you know, a dumbass meme they want to spread, right, with the reptilian thing. Anytime one of those things pops off, YouTubers are really going to benefit from that because it blows you up outside of your audience. It makes it so that you can be seen by people that aren't necessarily going to be on your platform. Like iShowSpeed, for example, a lot of these streamers, right? They blew up not just because of their streams, but because they were getting clipped on TikTok in, you know, a ton of different ways and contexts and formats.
Leafy's fervent and rapidly growing audience began to adopt the joke as a meme. About a week later, Leafy made another video expressing his approval of the meme, and he unknowingly enabled one of the most cancerous YouTube epidemics in recent memory. Leafy unleashed the reptilian army to terrorize comment sections across the internet. Over the next several months, Leafy's fans would raid the comments of big YouTubers and spew reptilian propaganda. The hissing and spam and KYS comments became so widespread.
The KYS comments were crazy, and I didn't even realize how pervasive it was until years later. Like, I remember Vegan Gains did this video responding to Leafy, where he was like, LeafyIsHere just called me out and called me basically a beta male, despite the fact I could easily snap his neck, and what followed was thousands of his fans telling me to end my life. And he literally showed a screenshot with hundreds of people being like, KYS, 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 KYS. It was like insanity. It was so much. Because the thing is, back in the day, I was watching Leafy, but I wasn't really like a commenter so much. If I did leave a comment, it was like a very long Reddit comment. It wasn't some dumb meme. So I didn't realize how many people were constantly spamming anyone Leafy made a video about. It was crazy.
That it prompted an episode of Keemstar's Drama Alert, another channel that had been steadily growing over the same time period.
The man responsible for all the hissing on YouTube right now is LeafyIsHere.
This new source of attention would cause Leafy's channel to grow even faster, and it certainly wouldn't be the last interaction between Leafy and Keemstar. For the immediate future, Leafy and Keemstar would enter a cooperative relationship, with Leafy utilizing Drama Alert as a platform to extend his reach to a bigger audience. A few months later, Leafy would appear on Drama Alert to engage in a friendly insult battle with Pyrocynical, another commentary channel that had a similar style of ranting over unrelated gameplay footage. From what I can tell, they were all on good terms. Things were only looking up for Leafy. He had crafted his channel into one of the hottest properties on all of YouTube. Around Christmas 2015, Leafy would pass 500,000 subscribers. Just 45 days later, he would pass 1 million.
Damn. That is a crazy amount of growth. That is super nuts. And YouTubers will reach that growth again. Obviously, there's a lot of people blowing up on YouTube. But I don't think that everybody will ever reach the same kind of growth that Leafy did from the kind of content he was making, right? Maybe in a few years, once people have forgotten Leafy even exists. But, you know, even like Pegasus, like, more Pegasus did blow up a lot off of the Mr. Beast drama, but he doesn't really get like very consistent views when he does anything that regards himself, right? Like Leafy could back in the day make like a story time video, he would get a bunch of views. Now, to get views as a commentary channel like this, that we're doing gameplay, you have to have like super sensationalist titles and thumbnails, and that has to be the only thing you do. Leafy did have an actual fan base back in the day who cared about what he had to say. I think part of that is the novelty of him being one of the first of the trend. But, you know, I don't think that a lot of these guys that do the gameplay content at this point, I don't think really any of them are going to reach the same heights that Leafy did back in the day. There were some people that came after, right? who kind of rode that wave, like Scrubby or Benji or Aiden Projects, who we talked about in the Jake Weddle video, right? That did get pretty big. But notice how like they had like huge YouTube followings where they would get a ton of views, but their Twitter followings were like, it would be like 1 million subs on YouTube, 5K followers on Twitter. Because their audience, I guess, just didn't use other social media or care about what they had to say. Maybe their audience were children, but they were really just like, you know, content farm channels making money off of it, which is totally fine if that's what they want to do. But it was a very different thing where Leafy was like a force in the YouTube community people listen to. The closest thing to Leafy I could say exists today is like probably Moist Critical, and he got a lot bigger. And I don't mean because of his demeanor or the things he says, but I mean just because Critical is like the commentary guy. You think commentary channel in 2016, you think Leafy. You think commentary channel in 2023, you think Moist Critical. As a black bisexual queen, what's your thoughts on homophobia within the LGBT community against bi men? We need more.
Damn shame, just remember.
Leafy had done it. He had made it big on YouTube. Just 12 months earlier, all he had was a floundering channel that was milking the last drops of popularity from a declining Minecraft game. In just a year, Leafy had concocted one of the fastest growing channels on all of YouTube, equipped with a loyal and ravenous fanbase. He started with basically nothing and created a bona fide empire, and he did it in a way that had never been done before. Normally, to become as popular as Leafy was, you have to be some high energy gamer who screams a lot, a legit celebrity, or a flawlessly attractive vlogger plucked straight from Hollywood Hills. I guess nowadays you could achieve the same growth by selling your soul to 5-year-olds and playing with toys for a living, but this was before all of that became a thing. Before 2016, there was never another channel like Leafy's. He was barely promoted. He wasn't smiling and laughing all the time. He didn't have a doofy looking haircut. He didn't have professional looking production value.
He did have a doofy looking haircut, to be clear. So do I. No shame.
He was just some shady kid making rants in his bedroom.
This is definitely part of the appeal for me and a lot of other like younger people who were watching YouTube at the time. Because when I was 14 watching Leafy, the only stuff I had seen on YouTube before that was like very like kids-friendly content, you know, like Captain Sparkles or Sky Does Minecraft or, you know, stuff in that vein, which like was good content for what it was. I you know, I don't have any hatred of those guys. But it was during a time period when, you know, I wanted something a little edgier. I wanted something a little crazy, right? And Leafy would just bully anyone on YouTube. He was like a asshole, and I loved that. And I think a lot of other people did too, because it was our first time seeing something that was like, oh, you don't have to be nice on YouTube. You can talk other creators. You can call them out. And it felt like Leafy was like cleaning up YouTube or something, which looking back is very dumb to think that, because he wasn't cleaning up YouTube. He wasn't really exposing anyone that really deserved it. Most of the time he was just making shitter commentary videos that were entertainment. But back in the day, that was kind of the mentality, and you still see that with a few commentary channels that blow up now and then.
And he reached the highest echelon of YouTube almost all by himself. Channels like Leafy's weren't supposed to get popular, yet somehow through a mostly guerrilla campaign, he made it there. And not only that, but he was leading a booming genre of content almost completely unopposed. There was no reason to believe that Leafy's channel would stop growing anytime soon.
People forget just how fast he grew and just how fast he quote-unquote fell off, I think. At the end of 2015, I think Leafy had... at the beginning of 2015, I think Leafy had maybe max 200K subs. By the end of 2016, I think he had 4.5 million. It was like over 2 years he grew that much. He was huge. He was massive. He was like, he wasn't PewDiePie level in terms of raw subscribers, but he was so popular that he was just inherently a part of the YouTube conversation. Everybody looked to Leafy for like the next drama video for those 2 years. It was crazy. By the way, if you want to see a great movie, check out the Beach Boys movie with John Cusack. Details the lead singer, I think his name is Brian, his schizophrenia, his struggles with mental illness. Great movie. Highly recommend it. Also listen to Pet Sounds. And later on, he got massive. I feel like you're Leafy if things were different. I don't know. I don't really think so. I feel like I could have run into the same problems Leafy did if I had gotten really, really popular when I was very, very young on YouTube. But thankfully, I had a very slow growth on YouTube. Like I never really had that like one big blow up moment. I never really had like 1 month where I got like 500,000 subs. I never had that. And like sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm kind of envious of that because it's like I just want to have that crazy subscriber growth. But I'm kind of happy about that. At least where I am right now, because I appreciate the fact that I got to make the little mistakes along the way and it wasn't in front of millions and millions of people, right? It was like, you know, the mistakes I made were proportional to the growth I had. And it wasn't like I blew up all of a sudden and then all the problems came out, right? I kind of got to learn along the way a little bit more. But also, like, you know, people who compare me to Leafy, I feel like my content's very different from him. I feel like the only reason people call me a Leafy clone is because we both make edgy jokes or something. But I feel like that's really it. I don't think I really look like him. I don't think I have the same temperament as him or voice as him. Maybe when I was younger, I did a little bit more, but I don't think that I'm really that much like him, to be honest, in terms of the content. Especially, like, people have called my main channel a Leafy clone. Like, there's nothing like Leafy. It's not even close, and it never really has been.
But this dream was about to turn into a nightmare. Even at this time, even when almost everyone liked him, even when his channel seemed unstoppable, there were cracks forming in the foundation. Let's just say that maybe there was a reason why there was never another channel like Leafy's.
And now I'm here to...
Everyone become a member of Emplemon's Patreon, all right? If you like his content, highly, highly recommend it. Makes good content.
Starting the series by picking up the new YouTube Geographic t-shirt. YouTube Geographic? That sounds like a...
Star Wars The Phantom Menace was the most disappointing thing since my son.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Galactron, with Leafy.
Hey, what's up?
Leafy is cracking.
So let's talk about something we haven't for a while. Leafy's videos. When we last left off, Leafy was only ranting about children. However, once he figured out that these rants were his ticket to success, he doubled down on edgy content. He expanded his scope to booby streamers, then women and sex in general. At first he would only talk about broad subjects, but soon he would begin to target specific individuals. He would ramp up the clickbait, more racy thumbnails, more shocking hyperbolic titles. He would begin to indulge himself in something known as cringe culture.
Back in the day, just having a girl with big boobs in the thumbnail, I feel like was a guaranteed million views for a lot of YouTubers. Like, it was so easy. There was like this period when commentary channels could get away with anything. And so like one video would just be like bullying a child. Next video would be bullying some kind of like Twitch thought or something. This is before OnlyFans, but that was it. That was literally like, that was all of it. And you could just like, putting boobs in a thumbnail was a crazy way to get clicks. Okay. And they kind of benefited from it because on one hand, Leafy could get clicks off of the girl with the boobs in the thumbnail, which made gooners click. But then he got to shit on her, which meant he got to benefit off of her having her tits out. And then he could also benefit off getting to make fun of her. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy two-timing, all right? He won. He ran a train on these women, hypothetically speaking, of course.
A trend that started gaining popularity in 2015, which involved roasting people on the internet for being weird. This foul cocktail of ingredients led to some of the most toxic content that YouTube has ever seen. And with toxic content comes a toxic fan base. Leafy was seemingly oblivious to this, but whenever he would feature a person in one of his rants, his fan base would often stalk and harass that individual. An early warning sign came in January 2016 when Leafy attacked a small occult YouTuber by the name of Mr. Black Darkness 666.
Does this guy still upload videos? I remember these videos Leafy made. Does he still post? Let's see here. He hasn't posted. He posted 1 year ago. Sonashu Loves Mother. He made some kind of Christian animation. What is this? This is like a surreal entertainment video. He's animating, dude. His artistic vision.
Hello, Mother.
Who are you?
It's me, Mother, Sony Chu, your daughter.
Oh, hello, Sonichu.
How are you feeling, Mother?
This is very creepy.
My back aches.
Oh dear, I think you need a massage.
No.
Relax, Mother.
Don't do it.
Let me take care of you.
Don't do it.
Stop. No.
Whoa!
No.
No! Okay, we're clicking off. He reenacted Christian's interaction with his mother. So that's what he was up to last time. I didn't really like the bed spring sound effects, to be honest.
Leafy's fans immediately went after Mr. Darkness, and he responded in a video where he attempted to place a curse on Leafy. The two confronted each other on Drama Alert, where they kind of reconciled their differences.
I'm sorry, Mr. Black Darkness 666.
So, Mr. Darkness, do you still want him?
Leafy has never been spotted confidently standing next to a woman. There was some picture of him with a plane back in the day, I remember. I wonder if I can even find it. Yeah, look at this, dude. Say what you want. Here he is, dude. And look, he has cock confidence. Rivellino would favorably view this image, okay? Here he is confidently standing next to a woman. He won, you lost, all right? You're nothing, dude.
Die?
No, I guess not.
Okay. Hey!
It is worth noting that Mr. Darkness never actually lifted the curse from Leafy. Just an interesting bit of trivia.
I still have to like do the if I want the spell to end, I have to do the counter spell.
The counter spell.
But anyway, pretty much everyone sided with Leafy on this issue, mostly because Mr. Darkness was such a melodramatic weirdo. However,
was this like the original lolcow content? I mean, obviously the lolcow content now that like I make or like Kiwi Tapes or someone like that makes is like a lot more in-depth, sort of documenting their life, but you know, the stuff he did back in the day with like picking on a random person, picking on some random obscure guy, you know, there is probably some similarities there in terms of the appeal for a lot of people. Like one interesting comment I'll see now and then is like, I like this content because it makes me feel less bad about my life. And I don't think that's a good position to be in. You shouldn't feel catharsis because you're watching someone destroy their life can be interesting. I get it. There's a morbid curiosity, but you shouldn't watch it purely because you feel better about yourself. If you're doing that, your life probably sucks and you need to improve it rather than like watching someone else's downfall and be like, oh, well, it could be worse.
The important outcome of this altercation was that Leafy denied responsibility for the actions of his fans. He claimed that all of his videos existed under a blanket state of satire, which supposedly excused him from the wrongdoing.
What was he even saying with that, by the way? Satire. Does he even know what that word? I don't think he knew what that word meant. Words like literally satire and satire are the words that he ruined back in the day. Like, what is it? It's all satire? What, you're just making fun of someone. What is satirical about it? Is the joke that you don't actually make fun of them? Like, what? I think he meant he was trolling, I guess, or he was just saying like, oh, it's not that serious, I guess was kind of the explanation he was trying to give. But it does, like, the word satire doesn't really apply here.
Of his fans.
And I made a video about it, and it was one of those things that a lot of reaction channels do. It's one of those things that's like 50% like parody and like for comedy. It's basically satire, and then 50% like an actual message.
All right.
I mean, a little bit is on you, but you can't take responsibility for every single person that watches your videos. That's ridiculous, you know?
Why? Why can't you just make another video telling them to calm down and
see? That's exactly what I was talking about with me and Pyro. We were thinking about making a video talking about satire content and how we make.
I think stuff like this is probably why so many YouTubers have like a harassment disclaimer now, because they realize how much damage the audience can do if they go out of their way to fuck with someone. And it still obviously does happen now and then, right? You can't totally prevent it from the audience, but putting a disclaimer probably does help, just to at least, you know, tell people you don't want them to go out of their way to mess with random guys that you make videos about, right? The unfortunate part is you can never stop everyone, but the disclaimer does at least help a couple people. It stops. I'd say it probably stops a decent amount of people from going out of their way to fuck with someone, but it also depends on how you do it, you know? Depending on how you make the content, you might encourage or discourage, you know, more people or less people to go out of their way to mess with someone on Twitter or whatever.
Videos about people, but again, it's just parody and it's just for more comedic value.
Do people of African descent ever refer to you as a beverage of sorts? What could that even mean? Are Africans drinking me? I mean, they could be. That's cool.
It's not. We're not legitimately hitting these people.
That would all change after one video where Leafy and his fans took things too far.
Oh, I forgot about this guy, Tommy NC.
Leafy would upload a video making fun of a YouTuber by the name of Tommy NC 2010. Later that day, Tommy posted an emotionally distressed response, claiming that Leafy's fans had harassed him and given him death threats. On March 20th, H3H3 Productions made a video calling out Leafy and the rest of the commentary community, accusing them of enabling a culture of bullying.
And this video was pretty sanctimonious, self-righteous, and hypocritical looking back, because Ethan was making the same kind of content and had even made fun of kids before. He just usually wasn't making fun of kids that were on YouTube as YouTubers with small channels. Instead, he was making fun of like kids that were in like TV shows or something. But he did the same exact thing, right? So this coming from him was definitely kind of kind of hypocritical. I will say I think it's probably for the best that people don't make commentary videos about 10-year-olds. That's probably for the best. You probably shouldn't be doing that as much as possible. He was way less harsh. In some instances he was, but in others he was like straight up insulting different kids' appearances. Like there's this one clip where he was like, look at this kid's hair. It looks like a toupee, right? His message was valid, but he was the wrong speaker. Yeah, I think there's some truth to that for sure.
I've been putting off talking about this because it's just, I'm actually friends with these guys, so it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. But if for some reason we as a community have been giving these guys a pass.
Now, I'm sure all of you know who H3H3 is today, but back in 2016, he was producing a fairly different type of content. Much like Leafy, H3H3 was producing semi-satirical rants and commentaries about people on the internet. Although H3H3's content was conceptually similar to Leafy's, there were a few key differences that set him apart. For one, H3H3 had a far less abrasive tone than Leafy. He had a much more mellow and joking approach.
He also did make fun of himself a lot more. Like a lot of Ethan's jokes, he was the butt, I think. He was more self-aware about that. Versus Leafy, a lot of it was like he didn't make jokes about himself. He was just making a joke about the subject itself. And and Leafy rarely added a comment where he was like, guys, I'm not actually hating on this guy as whatever. He kind of started past the Tommy NC thing, but back in the day, some of the videos he was making were just straight up, this guy, he sucks, he's ugly, he's weird, he's retarded. Look at this kid with the messed up tooth. Like that was in the Leafy content cop. Like the is this kid moment.
Yes.
Yo, is this person?
Yes, she's. Is that the answer you were looking for? She's retarded?
I'm not trying to be a dick. Like I really can't tell. Like I know some people are gonna be like, oh, it's obvious. I honestly have no idea.
Hey, Leafy, she is retarded. Oh no, I guess I'm the one who looks like an asshole here. Because you were just asking the question. I had to answer.
Exactly. He was just asking questions. I was just trying to answer them. Ethan, hypocritical? No. Yeah, I feel like a lot of what Ethan's done on YouTube is somewhat hypocritical. Unfortunately. We'll see how people take his new Ethan redemption arc, I guess. A lot of people think he's on one of those. He is supposedly making like some video about Hassan Piker soon, which should be interesting. Perhaps some kind of content nuke video. We'll see how that goes.
Approach to his subjects, attracting a much less toxic audience. In a nutshell, H3H3's videos made you laugh, while Leafy's made you mad. Additionally, H3H3 often targeted figures more famous than he, otherwise known as punching up. He would go after TV shows, celebrities, and giant YouTube prank channels. Leafy, on the other hand, had a reputation of punching down. He frequently...
Leafy versus Cringe Guy. The most ignorant YouTuber on YouTube. The saddest man on YouTube finds love. Well, good for Mr. Black Darkness. I'm glad he did. Yeah, Ethan was, I think a lot more of his content was making fun of other YouTubers back in the day for sure. Like Prank Invasion. And a lot of what Leafy was doing was like, I mean, he would make fun of YouTubers, but he would also make fun of like some kid with 9 subscribers. He'd be like, this is the cringiest thing of all time. And, you know, obviously at the time I liked that content, but I think now, you know, as with some things in retrospect, I can say that probably was a bad idea, you know. Bullying kids on the internet, probably a bad idea. Should probably leave the kiddos alone.
Targeted channels much smaller.
If you're an adult, you're fair game.
Smaller than his own, leading to much more harm to the victim from Leafy's overwhelming fan base. Heading into 2016, Leafy and H3H3 represented two diverging ends of the commentary community, and it wasn't long before they were no longer compatible.
And past this point, there were even, you can kind of see today, I feel like most commentary channels that exist, or at least the ones that have blown up in the past like 4, 5, 6 years that have kind of taken these guys' places, have been inspired by them in some way. Like Scrubby or like Pegasus was clearly more of like a Leafy-inspired thing, right? Versus you have people like Drew Gooden, Cody Ko, Danny Gonzalez, Eddie Burback, people like that, who clearly took a lot more inspiration from H3H3. I mean, all of them, I think, at some point, especially even Drew Gooden, I think early on, have made videos where they're like, yeah, I was very inspired by H3. I saw his content. I wanted to be like that, and I thought it was great. And they ended up being very successful at it. Cody Ko, he said the same thing. He was like, the best content on YouTube at the time was H3, and I wanted to be like that.
Due to the unprecedented amount of backlash Leafy was receiving from H3H3's video, he quickly took down the Tommy NC rant and issued an apology. But he wasn't taking all that flack sitting down. H3H3's Leafy rant marks a landmark moment in YouTube history, as it sparked a chain of events that would make 2016 the most influential year in the history of YouTube drama. Drama that intensified on March 23rd, when Leafy...
I think that now, probably, retrospectively, it's really cool watching this video years later, because at the time this was definitely true. I think that now the most influential year in YouTube drama was probably 2024. I mean, we had so many different stories. The one that really sticks out to me, though, was the Mr. Beast drama, right? The Mr. Beast drama was every single day there was a new thing. It was never ending. We had Chris Tyson. We had the dog pack videos. Then we had the walk back from the dog pack videos with those getting criticized. We had claims about the TV show. We had claims about workplace, problems, workplace harassment. I feel like that was probably the biggest year for YouTube drama that we've seen so far. Now, we might see another year that's even bigger, but I don't think we'll get a year bigger than 2024 for YouTube drama for quite a while. So it's, be thankful for the entertainment you got through laughing at people's misery for the last year, because I don't think we'll get another year like that for quite a while. PayMoneyWubby used to be a self-admitted idubbbz knockoff, but then he went to full-time Twitch streamer. I miss his main channel vid so much. I'm sure he makes way more money on Twitch, though. I've never really been a PayMoneyWubby viewer. The only familiarity I have with him is the Gus Johnson drama, really, which he had pretty good coverage there. But I honestly, when I saw stuff back in the day, I thought he was more like Fantano inspired. Oh, you mean like these videos?
Trust me, I wouldn't come back unless I had something important to talk about. And boy, do I. This photo, this single...
Okay. Hey! You think it was an idubbbz knockoff? So like, let's see, sort by the oldest videos. Let's see when we can see the quote-unquote idubbbz knockoffs.
Nani? PayMoneyWubby back on the scene? He probably has something important to say. No, I don't. Welcome everybody back to the PayMoneyWubby show. I'm PayMoneyWubby. Oh my god, I have so much acne. My neon sign is down and my room is... This is the only YouTube channel that as I get more money, the production value actually goes down.
So many different people have switched from prepared content to streaming in the past little while, because I think they just realize how much more money you get off of streaming, right? I still do prepared content, and I think I always will. I don't ever want to be a full-time streamer because I think it would ruin my life. I genuinely think that I would lose my mind and slip off into the abyss of insanity if I was streaming every single day. But I see why people do it. And if they're able to mentally hold themselves back from losing their minds, good for them. I just don't think that streaming for me full-time will be good. I think being that terminally online would probably ruin me. And also, I would prefer to be known primarily for prepared content than for streaming. Streaming, it will always be kind of a side thing for me. But these guys just make way more money off of streaming in the long run, right? Like, you can make way more money off of streaming to a few thousand people and posting those clips to YouTube than you can from making, prepared content straight up, right? You can. It's undoubtedly a possibility. So I don't really blame him for doing that, because it's like you put all this time into making a video that's 22 minutes long, it gets 1 million views, and you make, a few $1,000s in ad revenue, versus you stream once for 8 hours in one day, and then from that, you can make like 8 live stream clips that you post to YouTube, and each of those might make a few $1,000s. Like, it's so clear why people have taken up streaming. Every commentary channel, I feel like, has started streaming. Well, not every commentary channel, but a lot of them have started streaming. Like, Pyrocynical, he does streaming now, right? He brought back his quote-unquote slop content, right? A lot of people have done that. Is this not your full-time thing? I don't want you to stream every day, but what's the schedule? Well, streaming is not my full-time thing. Absolutely not. The majority of the time I spend is on actually making videos. So, yeah, what's the schedule? I have no idea what the schedule is. There's no schedule for streaming, and I don't think there ever will be, because I don't want to feel like I'm beholden to have to stream at one point in time, as far as like an everyday thing. Tom, we both know that if you started streaming full-time, there would be a global lotion shortage. Don't play dumb. That's true, there would be. And that's also part of the problem. I don't want to negatively contribute to the global lotion supply. Anyone know why it doesn't show me as a member? Maybe you're not a member. I'm not sure. The drink with the monkey, stay hydrated, bro. All right, bro. Thanks for the dono.
Leafy retaliated with the H3H3 Productions rant. In it, Leafy revealed a series of DMs between he and Ethan, uncovering...
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. No biggie. Was just curious. Okay, dude, keep shaking your dick. Happy for you blowing up. You got a unique style and personality, man. You worked hard to get where you are, and you deserved it. It pisses me off to see Pyro riding yours and others' coattails to undeserved success. Damn, calling out the Leafy clone community back in the day. I will say, during this time period, I think that Leafy kind of overplayed just how much he was friends with Ethan. Like, I don't think it was a total backstab for Ethan to make that video about Leafy. People care about this kind of stuff less. I feel like people treat commentary channels with less like, oh, you expose your friend? What? People care about that stuff less. If anything, there's more sweeping allegations than ever. But as far as Leafy, I feel like the bigger point here was that Ethan was kind of a hypocrite, right?
Uncovering a rather duplicitous side of Ethan, in which he befriends Leafy just months before attacking him, while also conspiring against Pyrocynical.
Because a lot of people don't understand that me and H3H3 Productions used to be friends.
The commentary community...
And they weren't really friends. They were friendly. But I would say that, Keemstar sold, we were talking in the DMs, we were friends meme from back in the day. I wouldn't call someone that I talked to in DMs over the internet 3 or 4 times, I'm friends with them, Unless we have like long, in-depth conversations, but I would say probably not.
was now split in two. And for the first time since becoming popular, Leafy looked somewhat vulnerable. He had never before dealt with a confrontation where a huge number of people were against him. The H3 Leafy drama sent shockwaves across the YouTube community, and Leafy quickly became one of YouTube's most notorious figures. It got everyone talking, even a guy like Video Game Donkey, someone who never commentates on anything drama related, made a video mocking Leafy.
You may remember me from my dipshit videos where I make fun of retarded people.
There was a whole wave back in the day that I even see this happening now, where people are sick of drama content because it's been so successful and so popular over the last few years that they're making these, like, if commentary YouTubers were honest videos, right? But back in the day, there was a big wave from Video Game Donkey, from Jack's Films, I want to say from, like, Psychic Pebbles or someone like that, where they were all making these videos where they were like, YouTube drama, there's too much YouTube drama, it sucks, right? What was that song Jack's Films made? Drama is more popular than content. Yeah, this video.
Drama is more popular than content.
As if drama isn't content. There was a big wave of this back in the day. It was a little snooty looking back. I think a lot of these guys were kind of not accepting of the times changing and the fact that YouTube, as it became a more legitimate industry, would have its own kind of version of TMZ. Donkey's so insufferable when he covers drama. Oh, you mean he sicked his fan base on Dumbsville for disliking Last of Us 2. He also apologized to Dream when he failed to prove he didn't cheat. I don't really know anything about that drama with him. To be honest, I was never a big Donkey viewer. He's made some funny videos that I've liked, but I've just never really been a viewer of him, so I personally can't attest to that. Raid by Nick. Oh, thanks for the raid, Nick. Appreciate it, bro. We're going over some old YouTube content right now, chat.
A few months later, Ethan would actually unlist the Leafy rant. He uploaded a video apologizing for his overly personal attack on Leafy, claiming that he was no longer proud of the original rant. Interestingly, Ethan would quickly unlist this video too, and you can make of that what you will. Regardless of Ethan's true intentions, the damage was already done to Leafy's credibility. The H3H3 rant was the first shot across the bow in the internet's gradual turn against Leafy, and a sign of much more grave things to come. But once all the flames died down, Leafy would remain relatively unscathed for the next couple of months, as YouTube's scorn was instead drawn to a very familiar figure.
I remember this H3 rant even bit Ethan in the ass a few years later because Gokunaru made the video about Ethan, right? And it was a very popular video. It was a very good video. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And he talked about how hypocritical Ethan was during that time period in that video. And looking back, that video Gokunaru made is probably not perfect. I haven't seen it in a few years, so who knows how much of it I would disagree with now if I watched it. But that video was very popular for a reason because it gathered a lot of feelings that people had around Ethan Klein at the time and why they disliked him. It gathered a lot of feelings they had, and it basically condensed it into a very easy to watch video that dissected all of Ethan's past and gave people reasoning for their general feeling, right? Because people had feelings about H3. They didn't like him anymore. They felt like he fell off. Diesel Patches made videos about it, but it didn't really affect Ethan. That video that Gokunaru made affected Ethan so much he had to respond and talk about how he thought everything Gokunaru said was right. What do you think is the future for commentary YouTube? What do you think of the climate for new creators? What do I think is the future? I have no idea what the future is. I'm retarded. Hopefully me. What do you think is the climate for new creators? I mean, what do you mean climate? I don't really know. To be honest, I care less and less with time about like this greater conversation of like the commentary scene. Yeah, I like watching it on the history of it, but I don't really know like what the prediction for the future is. I think you'll have a lot of people who are making kind of like lefty breadtuber type video essay commentary videos, and I think you'll also have some people who are making more edgy stuff like Big Bungie. I think you'll kind of have both of that split.
Keep your hand.
Is slop the meta? The thing is, like people always say like, is slop the meta? Is slop the new thing? There's so much slop, right? There is a lot of like quote unquote slop, but people have always liked slop. Leafy was huge back in the day for making quote-unquote slop. Right now, people love that kind of slop-type video, right? Critical is huge doing that kind of thing. But there's also a lot of, like, prepared content that's very successful, like my videos, that are, like, more in-depth, deep dives on these various people, like Svarage or Christian, where I go over their history, and those are very successful, too. Both of those things will always exist. Look at what I do. I have multiple channels, right? I have a main channel where it's, I would say, not slop. I have a second channel where, you know, the Tom Dark channel, I'd say is getting more slop with time. It's more prepared as time goes on. But it's still, you know, some more sloppy than the main channel because it's not as high production value or prepared. And then you have this channel, which is pure slop, right? But all these things will always exist. Like, you can succeed off of making one kind of content that is like more slop focused, and you can also succeed off of making one kind of content that's less slop focused and is more prepared content. Both of these things will exist.
And on.
After H3H3 turned on his former ally, everyone in the commentary community had to watch their backs. The Leafy rant would go on to attract a ton of viewers, and everyone discovered that there was now a huge audience for YouTube drama, and therefore a huge incentive to expose unscrupulous YouTubers.
And this is where the infighting started, where the drama became not just about Leafy and Keemstar and Pyrocynical and No Fuckers shooting their derision and their criticism, their quote-unquote hatred, right? The era changed from them spewing that at other people to it happening within the community. Keemstar and Leafy started fighting, and that was probably where the stuff got so interesting, right? That was probably where I think a lot of you guys probably find the most memorable content. The stuff you remember back in the day is probably not the video Leafy made about FouseyTube. It's probably the video Leafy made about Keemstar. That is what people remember most.
Be the first.
That opportunity was seized by a new challenger that you all know as idubbbz. On May 5th, 2016, idubbbz uploaded the bombshell known as the Keemstar Content Cop.
And this is what I talk about with the ebb and flow, right? Leafy blew up because there was a market for commentary videos in general, and anything would kind of pass at that point in time. Low effort stuff would rise to the top because he was the first guy doing it, right? But then there kind of was a response to that where idubbbz was doing more prepared, high effort content, and he was making it, you know, with relative frequency, but not as much frequency as Leafy did. But his videos became much more memorable because they really stood out at that point in time, right? You probably don't remember very many specific Leafy videos, but you can probably name 5 or 6 episodes of Content Cop off the top of your head. And so he, you know, capitalized on a market of people who, you know, some of which were former Leafy fans or current Leafy fans who were kind of getting sick of that kind of content that Leafy was making. And then some of which who hated what he was making and always thought it was low effort. And idubbbz came in with this kind of new era of stuff. My favorite one looking back, I think, was the Keemstar one. I think that one was the funniest. And I think that's what I appreciate about it most. It had the best bits. The actual, you know, content, what he was talking about, some of the points against Keemstar were good, but I think it was the funniest. Like the scene where he's in the sewer wrestling with Keemstar and there's like the tied up black dude. You got the popcorn everywhere. That was an awesome video. Kickstarter crap was goated. Kickstarter crap was also good, for sure.
A 22-minute expose that ripped into Keemstar with such surgical precision that it instantly shot him up to public enemy number 1. Keemstar, who thrived on YouTube drama, was ironically going to become its next target. Leafy should have been thankful. Keemstar had taken all the heat off of him, but Leafy, the eager opportunist that he was, saw Keemstar's stumble as an opportunity to redeem himself.
I can't believe he used that image. Damn.
After the H3H3 dispute. Just a few months earlier, Leafy used Keemstar as a friendly platform to grow his audience. Leafy would once again use Keemstar to grow his audience, this time as an enemy. On June 13th, Leafy would launch the first strike in a series of attacks that spanned 2 months and 4 rants, culminating in a video where Leafy claimed he was suing Keemstar for defamation.
Which never happened. I'm still looking back on this. I'm kind of curious why Leafy did this. Because Leafy claimed that he did it for money, right? He claimed he did it for AdSense in this interview that he did with Keemstar in like 2019. He claimed he did it for AdSense. But I don't know if I totally buy that. Because he already was making so much money. I don't think that he made that much more money by talking about Keemstar. I think that he probably was feeling a mix of pressure from the community to disavow Keemstar and on him because he was friends with him. I think it was a mix of that. And a mix of, I think somehow he had genuinely convinced himself that some of these points were true. Like, I think he had genuinely convinced himself that Keemstar was a bad person and he needed to call him out. I think it's kind of a mix of these things. I don't think that it was as simple as he just wanted to backstab him for money, right? I don't really buy that explanation. Ethan versus Keemstar nukes got me really into YouTube drama. Oh, so you kind of came in during like 2020, that kind of era. Yeah, that was like right after Gokanairu, maybe a year after Gokanairu, that stuff went down. I want to say something like that. 2019, 2020, around there, I want to say. Why are you up so late? I woke up at 5 p.m., so I have a really bad sleep schedule right now. Why did Leafy become fat? He didn't go to the gym, dude. He didn't go to the gym. He's got to go. Maybe I'll have a fat era. Who knows? I haven't gotten fat yet. You know, I'm still exercising, and I don't eat great, but I eat probably decent enough that the effects of becoming obese get staved off by going to the gym. But I saw it coming. You know, part of the reason I started going to the gym is because I was like, all right, I'm 19, I'm 20 years old, right? I'm not going to be this skinny little twink forever. You know, I'm either going to get fat or I got to get jacked. And so these are my two options, and I decided to go on one. I decided to go with the jacked one, okay, because I didn't want to be fat. I knew I wouldn't be thin forever. You know, my family history shows me that past a certain age, we start widening out, all right? We start getting a little bit of girth, and I can either turn that girth into a little bit of muscle and not get completely fat, or I can become completely fat. So I had to go with the gym route, all right? I foresaw the twink death, and I accelerated it. When are you addressing the allegations that you can't do the Charleston? When am I addressing the allegations I can't do the Charleston? Never. I will never respond. Much like Sunny V2, I will never respond. Just finished watching your Problems with Palestine video on the main channel. Love the content. Thanks, man. Yeah, I feel like they had a lot of stuff that I needed to call out personally. I quit gluten recently. That's really helped. The problem with that is that I just really like gluten. My brother has like stopped eating sugar. You really expect me to do that? Like a guy that's going bald and shaving his head? Yeah, exactly. You have to own it, dude. You have to fucking own it. You don't want to just be... You don't want to be one of these guys that, you know, has one of the crazy hairlines where you're just holding on to it forever, okay? You just got to shave it off and get jacked. You'll be fine. You can't be fat and bald, but you can be jacked and bald. That's cool, all right?
The Keemstar rants were almost universally liked. And
you cannot deny your nature. You must accept it and lean into it.
They became some of the most popular videos on his channel. Leafy rode the wave of Keemstar hate, along with his usual content, to the highest level of popularity that he ever achieved. This was the peak of Leafy's empire. It was all downhill from here. During the summer of 2016, Leafy still towered above all of his contemporaries in the commentary community. On July 4th, Leafy's channel was hacked by a rogue group by the name of Poodle Corp. His channel was quickly restored back to normal, and the Poodle Corp incident soon faded from recent memory. This brief little...
I remember seeing that. I think I remember seeing that at the time in my sub box. I was like, why are Leafy's video titles all changed? What's going on? What exactly is happening here? And I think he didn't remember the video titles, so he had to go back and change it to a bunch of shit that... Because I think he didn't know how to use Wayback Machine or something. So I think he went back and changed the titles and thumbnails and just had no idea what to do. After some introspection and seeing Elon crash out on Twitter over HB1 visas, he will never beat the spiritual Jew allegations. All right, well, I'm glad you're talking about that. That's a very serious thing.
The incident did reveal one important consequence. Leafy wasn't just a big channel, he was also a big target. The internet's collective rage against Keemstar lasted throughout the summer and began to burn out towards the end of August. During that time, Leafy had feasted on the decaying...
This is something that happens to everyone once they get big to a certain level. You know, once you have like 5 million subscribers, there's going to be some people that hate you, right? And the way you handle that depends. If you start responding to it constantly and it becomes like a big part of your content to constantly respond to that criticism, it will become worse and worse and more people will take notice that that's an insecurity you have. But if you just ignore it, you'll probably be fine long term. But you do kind of accrue this audience of people who, you know, you accrue a detractor audience. And the more you acknowledge it, the more you lean into it and you empower them. How do you fight fire? By not pouring gasoline on it.
Remains of Keemstar's reputation. However, unlike old times, Leafy was the scavenger, not the killer. For the first time in a YouTube confrontation, Leafy was not the apex predator. That distinction now belonged to idubbbz, a title that he would ferociously retain in the next edition of Content Cop.
Sometimes I forget that the Content Cop after Keemstar was the Leafy one. Sometimes I forget that. He was hitting on a lot of commentary channels. I mean, Keemstar wasn't a commentary channel. He was a news channel, but he was in that community. Then he hit on Leafy. Was the Content Cop after Leafy? It was Tana Mojo and then idubbbz, right? I'm pretty sure it was. The Tana Mojo one is probably one of my favorite ones as well, looking back. That one had kind of slipped my mind earlier when I was talking about them. But that one was pretty funny. The bit he did, the say, I can't believe he got away with that on YouTube, man. You just, I mean, you could probably post that video nowadays on YouTube. I think you can probably say that word, but getting that video monetized is going to be extremely difficult. You're not going to have a good time.
You're hiding your putrid, malformed chin. If you look at anyone with a weak chin, not only is his chin open to the public, no chin at all, very weak chin, lost chin, weak chin, chin implant. Chin, 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 chin. Hide the chin.
It wasn't the most meticulously researched Content Cop. It wasn't the most groundbreaking. It didn't have the most profound message, but it didn't need to.
I was a Tana fan at the time. That was a lot. You were a Tana fan at the time? I'm so curious how you were a Tana Mojo fan and you're now like watching my streams. That's a really crazy pipeline. How did that happen? Momo is my hero. How did that happen? What about Tana's videos did you like? Because I didn't even know who Tana Mojo was until idubbbz made a video about her. I had no idea. I'd never heard of her once in my life. I didn't know she existed. I was a fan of both Tana and idubbbz at the time. I watched everything on YouTube. What about Tana's content was appealing to you that you also found idubbbz appealing? Was it her storytime videos? Like, what exactly is like the appeal to you? It seems so strange to me that you were able to be fans of both. Girls loved Tana back in the day. Oh yeah, for sure. But it seems crazy to me that somebody would watch Tana Mojo and hear her takes and be like, oh, that's true. And then also watch idubbbz and hear him like spewing off racial expletives and saying he has osteoporosis. She's funny. The best clip she ever did was the toothbrush video. This was a legendary video, bro.
That he f***ed me with a toothbrush. He f***ed me with a toothbrush.
I certainly hope that's not true. I certainly hope the toothbrush allegations are not true. Her video has 7.3 million views on the toothbrush story. What are Tana Mojo's most popular videos? I peed on Shane Dawson. You wish this was clickbait. You're right, I do. Actually, you're very right. Her song with Bella Thorne. Oh, this is the lesbian Tana Mojo arc. A video with Jeffree Star and James Charles. How I did my makeup in high school. I was a thought. This is her most popular, one of her most popular videos.
Points if it's also out of dress code. I broke dress code every single day to the point that like my teachers and like everyone just kind of gave up on me. Like they didn't really care that I broke dress code. I was probably like a smaller or medium in shirts, but I would buy everything in an extra small so that it was ill-fitting and would show my tits and my midriff. Now most people would wear this tank top, you know, like this.
I gotta click off this. Something bad's gonna happen to me. I can't be involved with that. All right. I just can't be involved with that. I clicked on it for way too long, to be honest with you. All right. Gotta move on. Gotta move on. We just can't fall down that. Is this worse than a bread tuber? No, it's definitely better. It's definitely better. Okay. I can't handle her. You might not be able to. You might not be able to. Okay. I wouldn't recommend it, but if you do it, I'm proud of you.
Simple purpose of this content cop was to beat Leafy at his own game, to stoop to Leafy's level and give him a taste of his own medicine. This wasn't a shocking expose on Leafy's character. Everybody already knew why Leafy was problematic. The purpose of this content cop was to serve as a sheer display of dominance.
And the reason why it was so effective is that idubbbz wasn't like moralizing in the video, right? He wasn't like, what Leafy's doing is so evil. He was like, I'm going to do what Leafy does to other people, to him, which simultaneously got the people that hated what Leafy was doing on his side because he was bullying the bully, and also got the people who liked Leafy on his side because it was just a raw display of power. Let's bully the bully. Crazy visual here, by the way. And I think that's part of the problem with a lot of like modern day kind of like expose videos, like for example the video that Vince did on Tyler Oliveira. A lot of the things he said, as true as some of them may be, I don't think they really appeal to a Tyler fan, right? Like the racism allegation is not going to appeal to a Tyler fan. It's just not. And I don't really know even that Tyler is that racist, to be honest. I don't totally buy that. I think he's opportunistic for sure. I think he's sensationalist. I don't know that he's a very big racist. And I think that like if idubbbz had made a video finger wagging being like, oh my God, I can't believe Leafy said that, it wouldn't have hit because idubbbz would be a hypocrite. And on top of that, nobody cares.
Dismantling Leafy's content by using his own methods against him. Any logical defense Leafy could have made didn't matter because he had a weird chin. Another victory for
And in his response, he was clearly so insecure about that too, dude. Content deputy Leafy.
What we do here is...
This video, I think, clearly just proved how truly insecure Leafy was. And it's kind of sad to see how insecure he
Buddy,
was.
receding hairline here. I'm sure you guys went and saw the Leafy response video already, where he systematically dismantled each and every one of my arguments.
Don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me.
The first thing I'd like to address is how frequently Leafy's playing the victim card. I mean, it's really hard to believe from someone like Leafy. That's what he criticized Keemstar for doing.
And of course, there's gonna be a lot of dislikes this week as well.
This video is gonna get spammed with dislikes. Oh, boo-hoo. Please show me support, guys. Thank you for all the support recently. Shut the f*** up. By the way...
It's such a power move. He gets insulted for his hairline. He just immediately shows it. Such a power move, bro. This is what you do. You own the insult, all right? You don't get insecure about it. You have to just own it. That's all you can do. If you show weakness, sharks in the water will get you.
Leafy, why did you ban me from commenting on your video? I was just gonna say something supportive like, it doesn't matter if you don't have a chin, Leafy. We still love you. But then I try to use my alternate account to see if I can post anything, and I can, but I can't use words like chin or idubbbz in the comment.
To be honest, I don't totally know if Leafy was censoring comments. A lot of the time when people say that comments are being censored, it's some kind of weird YouTube glitch. Like a lot of the time I'll see a comment in my like inbox on YouTube, because YouTube will tell me like, here's all the comments you get, right? And I'll try to click on it on the original video and then I can't find it. Like the YouTube video will say 3,000 comments and I can only view like a couple hundred of them. It's very weird. YouTube is not very consistent with comments.
Chimney, chim, cheree. A sweep is as lucky can be.
I know you were very personally
Good night,
insulted
horny
by the
fries.
video, but that was kind of the fucking point. I'm not here to shut down your channel, believe it or not.
I got a YouTuber that I roasted in the past, tweeting me on Twitter, flirting with me.
Look at him hiding behind the microphone, dude.
Holy God, there's so much drama that you have to deal with, Leafy. I feel so bad for you, dude. There's someone flirting with you? Man, that's some serious drama, dude.
FouseyTube literally tweeting.
Where was the part where Leafy was like, I look like all these cartoon characters. Compare me to the cartoon characters. He was like, I look like an anime guy.
Pretty much anyone in.
I took the Keemstar strategy and roasted you about your emo hair, you moron.
Where's the roast comparing me to this dude? This motherfucker, or pretty much
I just did the math. She's 17 in the toothbrush video. That's a bad omen.
anyone in anime. I look like a goddamn anime character. What the?
Guys, I look like all these cute anime boys. I look just like them.
You're all of a sudden wanting to pretend like you didn't watch the video. I definitely compared you to some cartoon characters, dude. But they weren't attractive ones. They were very ugly ones without chins. That's probably why you're not mentioning those ones. You've sort of selectively removed that from your head. But since you seem...
Why didn't you roast me and say I look like this really hot anime boy that all the girls like, dude? Damn. But then Leafy came back. He came back around, all right? He came back around and got idubbbz. Called him a cuck. He's destroyed.
Weaponized memes. For the first time ever.
Yes, old idubbbz was so peak. There are people who cope now. They're like, oh, idubbbz is never that good. You're just wrong. You're wrong. idubbbz was great. You're wrong, dude.
Leafy was shoved off his high perch and cast into the depths of mass ridicule and personal insults. The very same hell he had subjected to his dozens of victims.
Now I'm feeling bad for him. He's so obviously insecure. I mean, that's fair. Looking back, you can, but... You know, considering that he spewed so much derision and personal insults on people at the time, it's unrealistic to expect anyone to feel bad for him back then, you know? He had built his entire channel making fun of people's appearances.
Content Cop had effectively swayed public opinion against Leafy. You almost couldn't take him seriously afterwards. All of Leafy's credibility as a ruthless cynic had been demolished, and in the eyes of most casual viewers, Leafy's legacy was set in stone as a cowardly, insecure troll who bullies people for attention, but more importantly, as a guy with no chin. After the Content Cop, Leafy would never really recover. His sub count pretty much froze at 4.8 million, then began to take a nosedive. His new uploads were bombarded with tens of thousands of dislikes from persistent...
And just like I said back in the day, right? Or what, not back in the day. Like I said earlier in this video, right? People at the time were like, Leafy's done. He'll never come back to YouTube. He's done. Okay? Everybody hates him. The entire commentary community jumped him. And a couple years later, he came back and was one of the most loved commentary channels before he got banned, right? He definitely was. So never say never. You never know when someone can come back and change the game, dude.
And haters. His videos dwindled in viewership from several million views each to just a few 100,000. Many other YouTubers followed up on Content Cop by coming out of the woodwork with their own personal accounts of how Leafy took advantage of them, accusing him.
Looking back, a lot of those videos were pretty shit. Like, the Nick Cash video was like, he said, is 20 bucks okay? $20? Well, like, you could have just argued with him and said, I wanted more, right? You put in a couple hours of work into a stupid animation for the beginning of Leafy's video. To be clear, what Nick Cash made was, you remember those little like edited animations Leafy would make at the beginning of his videos where it was like hey guys, it's me, Leafy here, I'm just hanging out, oh my god, there's a new video. He would make some of those, right? Leafy paid him 20 bucks for one of those. Nick Cash later made a video exposing him, kind of opportunistically being like, he only offered me $20. It's like, you could have just asked for more. You should have agreed to a price ahead of time. And the Elvis Alien video, looking back, I think even Elvis made a video where he was like, it's kind of dumb that I even made this video. Leafy didn't really do anything to me privately. It was kind of dumb.
Him of greedy and manipulative behavior. As time went on, Leafy would only become more and more maligned. No one really came to his defense. No one that mattered, at least.
I think the only person that kind of tried to defend him was Colossal is Crazy. At the time, he was kind of like Leafy's lawyer on the on the Baited podcast. He would defend him through a lot of things, but he couldn't really defend him for the idubbbz video, I don't think, very much.
All of Leafy's influential friends from the past had abandoned him. He had made too many enemies. And fascinatingly, through all of this, Leafy never changed. He kept up the bombastic titles. He kept up the sexualized thumbnails. He kept up his edgy reptilian persona. He just kept charging forward, full steam ahead. It was as if he was refusing his own fate, in complete denial of his doomed channel. He just kept going, fueled perhaps by a burning desire to reclaim his glory, the fleeting fame and admiration that now eluded him. Or maybe he kept up the roasts and rants because he had forgotten how to do anything else. YouTube fame had consumed him for the better part of 2 years. Maybe the constant praise and fan worship had conditioned Leafy to accept toxic rants as part of his identity. It was the only formula he knew that gave him the fame he desperately desired. He no longer knew any other way of making content. Leafy convinced himself that he would ride his downward spiral to the bitter end. His last taste of—
But honestly, I still think that if Leafy had changed up his content and actually improved it back in the day, I feel like he could have made a bit of a comeback, you know? If he had, like, because the thing is, Leafy was known for just that kind of content that idubbbz talked about in his content cop, right? And he never really changed beyond that. He kind of just kept making the same thing over and over and over again. He kept making the gameplay videos. He refused to change his formula. And I think that Leafy was never a very quote-unquote artistically inclined person. So he probably was never going to change things up and make better content. You know, I can't imagine him doing like an hour-long deep dive on the history of something. I can't imagine that. But I think if he had, I think he could have changed the game quite a bit for himself. I think he could have made content that was appealing to people. Because, you know, the idubbbz thing took away his status as like the ruthless cynic, the ruthless bully. But if he had changed his appeal, if he had changed the status he was known for, from being known for just bullying people online to being known for something else, I feel like he could have come back quite a bit. But he never did that. He just never did that.
Fame came in July 2017 when Leafy got exposed. Literally, after his Snapchat got hacked and his bare naked body was released online for everyone to see. Ironically, Leafy's legacy ended with everyone roasting him for being weird. After this incident, Leafy wouldn't last much longer. Maybe reality finally caught up with him. Maybe he could only take the hate for so long. Maybe he finally accepted his demise after ranting about Jake Paul couldn't even save his channel.
This is a phenomenon that exists on YouTube, right? And I'm going to make the argument, there is a economy that exists on YouTube that is unspoken about, but it is real. It is real. Very few people have touched on it, and very few people have gotten it, okay? And this economy is the swag economy. There is a factor that you get on YouTube during a certain amount of time, when if you make content that people like and you simultaneously appeal based on who you are, what you look like, and the kind of person that you are, you will develop a thing called swag. Okay, you will develop a thing called swag, which Leafy had back in the day. He had developed a propensity for swag. His swag stocks were going up quite a bit, right? And this is not a joke. This is a real thing. Swag, okay? Riz, unspoken Riz, this is what he had. idubbbz showed that Leafy's swag was built on a house of cards. He took away his swag. idubbbz inherited his swag and became swag. Both of them at some point in time lost their swag quite a bit. idubbbz has now lost his swag. He lost the quote-unquote cool factor, right? Leafy lost the quote-unquote cool factor. I personally feel like I have never had swag on YouTube, and that's kind of an intentional thing. I never want to appeal based on who I am or because people think I'm a cool guy. I don't want to appeal off of that. I have no desire for that. I want to appeal off of the content that I make, because if you accumulate that swag and people then find out that you're not as swag as they thought you were, people find out that the person you are is not the person they expected, you will lose the swag very instantly, and not only that, it will affect your content. You don't want the swag thing is a very dangerous thing. It's a very dangerous game to play. In the short term, it can very much benefit you. It can very, very much benefit you. But if you lose it, it can ruin everything. Tom Dark on a podcast, Keemstar said Leafy was heavily hooked up on Adderall, and that's why he kept spamming the same type of videos without caring. I mean, I don't know if that's why he kept spamming the same type of videos without caring, but I do know that it seems like Leafy did have some kind of drug problem for a decent while. I remember Keemstar talked about how he wanted to have some kind of intervention for Leafy, and it never really panned out. Nothing lasts forever, I suppose. Nothing swag lasts forever.
Leafy had already abandoned his Twitter page in May 2017, and after uploading a final rant in December, Leafy called it quits. He didn't even say goodbye. So that's it then. Content Cop killed Leafy. The end. But that's not the whole story.
That makes for boring and personal content, though, contrary to the ethos of YouTube. That's not true, though. That's not true at all. The ethos of YouTube is constantly changing. You say boring and personal content. What do you know about M. Lemon from watching this video? What kind of swag can you get from watching this video? Do you know anything about him, his opinions, how he feels about things? Not really. You don't really get anything. All you get is he makes a very good video. You don't know about his personal life. If you found out he ate 1,300 Jollibee nuggets last night, would you hate him more or not watch his videos? No. Because the content isn't about who he is as a person. It's about what he has to say. It's about what he has to document. If you're the kind of person that cares and is personally invested in someone's content and who they are as a person, fair enough. I'm not someone who really has that. I personally don't really have that at this point in my life. I don't care. And so as a result, I've also built my content around people not really caring who I am as a person. I don't really want them to care or give a right? You have your personal life and then you have your YouTube life. These things should be ideally, I think, kept separate. If you want to mingle them, things can go well, but they can very easily go wrong.
Something else was already killing Leafy long before Content Cop got to him. Something bigger than anyone could possibly imagine.
This is the conspiracy. Leafy is blackballed.
It's easy to sit there and believe that Content Cop was totally responsible for Leafy's demise. And while it is true that following Content Cop, Leafy's subscriber count started a permanent decline, if you take a closer look at the numbers, the data, the analytics, something just doesn't add up. This episode of Content Cop propelled idubbbz and the series to legendary popularity. People point to this video and what subsequently happened to Leafy as proof that idubbbz is a bona fide YouTube killer. But is that actually true?
This was a huge perception back in the day that even I had. It was like, if idubbbz makes a video about you, you're done. Your career is literally over. And I think with time, videos like this have kind of shown that. I think this is probably the first video that really posited this on a big scale. But I think with time, a lot of people have come around and realized that, you know, no one video can wreck your career, really. Unless that video details how you're a pedophile. But outside of that, no one video is really going to wreck your career. You're probably going to be okay. You have some good, funny IRL moments and stuff with the fellows. Yeah, that is good content for sure. I think it's funny.
To date, idubbbz has produced 11 episodes of Content Cop. In 7 of them, he has talked about a specific YouTube channel. So out of those 7, how many do you think were directly killed by Content Cop? Jinx is a pretty dead channel today, but his decline didn't start until several weeks after Content Cop.
Even beyond that, I think Jinx's channel was always doomed to die. Because whereas someone like Asmongold, who's kind of a modern reaction channel, watches videos and adds commentary, Jinx said nothing. He had nothing to say. He just laughed at random videos and was like, damn, that's crazy for real. He had really no added commentary. So his channel was always on a very short fuse.
The Fine Bros lost subs for a brief period, but that was due to attacks from multiple YouTubers, not just idubbbz. And even with that, the Fine Bros are still doing better today than they ever have been.
Are the Fine Bros still doing videos? Are they still around? I'm pretty sure they are, right? I think it's called FBE now, Fine Bros Entertainment. Let's see here. They're still doing pretty good. It's not like it used to be. Cat's Eye tries guessing the pop song in 1 second. This one got 1 million views. So it looks like they have a lot of videos that don't do as well. But it's probably because they've used up a lot of the like reaction format. Like they've already done like, you know, the most generic thing you can possibly do that's going to appeal to people is like, does grandma like Slipknot, right? But videos like that are not going to, or videos that are more specific, like finish the lyrics, 2000s pop punk hits. A video like that is like much more specific. It's less broadly appealing. So I can see why it's not doing as well, but they still do pretty good on YouTube. What are their overall view stats like? I'm curious. FBE at React. Or they try to copyright the term React and license it to people, which is really dumb. Still getting 15 million views. Okay, they are definitely making bank. That is a lot of money they are making. Don't they have other channels as well? I'm pretty sure they have, oh my God, React Shorts, Bullseye, Teens React, React Cast, People vs. Food, PVF Chef, June Beam. What is June Beam? Oh, this is like a female-centric content thing.
We're on the street talking to people to see if they can tell if these strangers are single or taken just based on their style. Do you think that you could tell if someone was single or taken just based on their outfit?
Nowadays?
Yeah.
No.
He's right. You're right, brother. You can never tell.
Keemstar experienced a significant decline after Content Cop, But after about a year, his numbers returned back to normal, so you can't really argue that he's still a dead channel.
I feel like Keemstar and the appeal that he had has kind of been replaced by Critical, because Critical would do daily drama videos where he would cover it a little better than Keemstar did, and he would also have something to say, and it was a more likable person. Keemstar became very divisive by the end of his time doing Drama Alert, so I think that Critical kind of took the spot of that appeal of like the daily quote-unquote drama slop type stuff.
Tana Mongeau, you could argue, was directly affected by Content Cop for several months, but now that a year has passed, her channel has rebounded and is currently thriving. Certainly not dead.
It's easy to see why this is the case as well, because Tana never had a lot of overlap with idubbbz, right? The edgy teenagers who were watching idubbbz videos and watching him like make Kickstarter crap or stuff like that, making him like watching bad unboxing, are not even close to the same kind of people that were watching Tana. I think the reason why she lost some subscribers is because idubbbz was like the biggest kind of drama channel at the time, the most influential one. So the little overlap she did have was kind of killed by that. But I don't think that she was ever going to be long-term affected by idubbbz. She has a very different audience, a completely different appeal.
The Rice Gum Content Cop, which you'd think would be the most influential since it's currently the most viewed in the series.
Not only that, but you would also expect them to have a decent amount of audience overlap, or at least some, because they both make kind of, I mean, honestly, maybe they don't have a lot of overlap, because Rice Gum kind of appealed to a much more like hype beast culture that, you know, like to see him flexing and, you know, owning the brokies and making fun of making fun of like Lil Tay, right? That's probably a different audience of people than the people that liked idubbbz. So maybe he didn't have that much overlap. Rice Gum, by the way, I think had a kid not that long ago. Congratulations to him for that. Keem has always seemed like second banana. Keem was first banana for a little bit for sure. He was number one banana. Don't take that away from him. Drama Alert back in the day was absolutely killing it.
Barely put a dent in his numbers.
I don't think the point of Content Cop was to destroy the channels. The point was the biting commentary. I agree. I don't think that was necessarily the point. But it, you know, the reason why Emblem is addressing this right now is because there was a idea at the time that anyone who, you know, got a Content Cop video made about them, they were done. It was going to destroy their career. And it just wasn't really the case. But there was a big perception around that. A lot of people had also not seen the clips of her saying the N-word, and I'm sure her audience at the time didn't like that. That's true. But long term, I think she was fine because she apologized, and that was enough for her audience, I think.
The only channel besides Leafy that you could argue got killed by Content Cop is How to Prank It Up, which is pretty dead today and started declining right after the idubbbz video, so I'll give him that one.
Did they really kill that channel though? Because once again, I feel like the only time that a video is really going to destroy someone's career is if they did something genuinely evil, which How to Prank It Up didn't do. He just made cringe. Or if the two audiences have a lot of audience overlap and the points are so convincing that people don't want to watch that person anymore. I think generally speaking that there's probably not a ton of audience overlap between idubbbz and How to Prank It Up. Like the guy making like, oh my God, the Orbeez prank was probably not the same kind of person watching Kickstarter crap. So he probably just lost his passion or made worse content after this point in time. Maybe it took the wind out of his sails. But generally, I think that, you know, these quote-unquote cancellation moments generally only affect you if you let it.
If you've been keeping score, that's 2 out of 7 Content Cops you could even argue directly killed the channel they were targeting. Based on the data, it seems like Content Cop is actually far more likely to have minimal to no effect on its target channel, which made me pretty skeptical of it being the true cause of Leafy's downfall. And unlike How to Prank It Up, which was one of dozens of interchangeable and forgettable YouTube prank channels, Leafy was a distinct entity who was leading his genre with a highly loyal fan base. Could one single video really stop all of that progress in its tracks? I don't think so.
I mean, I think it could definitely halt it quite a bit because he lost like the cool factor that the kids had from like, oh my God, he's the most base bully ever. Anybody who saw that and then saw the idubbbz video was like, oh, he's actually clearly very insecure, right? But he still was getting pretty decent views for a little while.
And if you dive deeper into the analytics, Leafy's true killer begins to appear. First of all, Leafy's stats show a sharp decline beginning in July 2016. Keep in mind, Content Cop came out September 12th. And even before the Content Cop, Leafy's subscriber rate had already dropped by 80% over the past 2 months. Over that same period, His average views dropped by about 40%. Even during the month of September, when you'd think Leafy would at least gain a temporary boost in views from the drama surrounding Content Cop, he had his biggest decline in viewership yet.
But you could probably argue that, because Emp's going to paint the idea that YouTube has something to do with it, and they very well may have. I kind of do believe that. And the reason I'm more willing to believe that now than ever is because, well, maybe not more than ever. The reason why I do buy into it to an extent is because there's been several instances where YouTube has stepped in and clearly told people, stop doing drama. It's getting too heated. We don't like that. This happened with Keemstar and H3H3, where YouTube told them to, cool down the drama. They both directly acknowledged that, I believe. It's happened with Jax Jones and Sniper Wolf, where YouTube directly responded and were like, hey, we see the Sniper Wolf does something really bad, but you guys are both behaving very poorly on YouTube, right? When Jax Jones hadn't really done anything wrong, he had just criticized Sniper Wolf. But YouTube, I think to an extent, when drama gets really hot and it gets kind of serious and they risk media attention from it, they get very like, shut it down, guys, shut it down. Shut down the drama, guys. Leafy did nothing wrong.
Perhaps you could argue that Leafy's content had grown stale, and that his audience had grown tired of it. But does that really explain an 80% reduction in subscriber growth in just 2 months? Let's compare that to our old friend Captain Sparkles, who took 14 months to achieve the same decline. It just doesn't make sense that Leafy would all of a sudden fade so quickly, especially considering how loyal his audience was. Another intriguing detail is that once
they were loyal, but was that loyalty not affected by the fact that they kind of realized that Leafy was very, very insecure and he had kind of invested in the bully way? I don't think idubbbz killed Leafy's channel entirely, but I do think that it's very possible that Leafy got really big really fast and he started not gaining as many subscribers because his content didn't really evolve. Like you can kind of reach a ceiling at one point in time where there's just not a lot of there's not a lot of outside appeal to your content, right? You kind of reach the saturation point where you've made the same content for so long that you're not going to gain a lot more subscribers out of that thing purely, out of that one format purely.
Leafy's numbers hit rock bottom, he could never recover. By spring 2017, Leafy's view count had flatlined to about 10%.
That is a pretty bad graph.
Of what it was at its peak, and it slowly continued to decline beyond that. Now, this isn't too out of the ordinary for a typical YouTuber. A lot of channels peak in popularity only to slowly fade away and never return. However, Leafy was not a typical YouTuber, so you have to compare him to a more similar channel, like Keemstar. Leafy and Keemstar had very similar experiences in 2016. Both were subjects of Content Cop, both went through a period where they lost many subscribers, and I think it's fair to say that both had a pretty similar audience. And when you compare their stats, they both flatlined in a similar way, except for one thing. Keemstar eventually bounced back. Not slowly either. Over just 2 months in mid-2017, he inexplicably spiked back up in...
This is true, but Keemstar also was grinding constantly, making so many videos about Jake Paul. He was absolutely cashing in on that. I feel like at this point in time, I could be wrong, but I do think that Leafy's heart wasn't quite in it anymore at this point in time. He felt like he was phoning it in. He wasn't uploading daily anymore. He was uploading like a couple times a week if you were lucky. He hadn't really, it felt like he felt like the best days were over, One of my favorite dramas was that Czech Pokemon Go kid that made the best YouTuber diss track ever, peak YouTube. Yeah. Cyberbully channels are cancer. Yeah, Misha, dude. Misha grew up and makes music now, all right? He's the GOAT.
Into popularity. And by the time his numbers stabilized, his subscriber rate had more than quadrupled from where they were in early 2017. It was as if a giant weight had been lifted from his channel, allowing it to suddenly grow freely. It just doesn't seem natural. And this is where my theory comes in. Content Cop didn't kill Leafy. YouTube did. And I'm not talking about the YouTube community or the YouTube algorithm. Put on those tinfoil hats, everyone, because I am proposing that YouTube's executives conspired against Leafy to sabotage the visibility of his channel. And this isn't just something I'm pulling out of my ass to explain away Leafy's decline. There's a ton of evidence I found supporting this theory. In December 2017, an anonymous user under the alias TowerDog leaked some classified information about YouTube's internal activities. He alleged that in mid-2016, YouTube held a private meeting with a few select creators.
There's no direct proof of this happening, so I would be careful to speculate too much here, but I do think that it's not unlikely to me that YouTube could have had some kind of meeting around this time, because this is mid 2016. YouTube was getting a lot bigger at this point in time. They were growing a lot more, and they were definitely trying to appeal to advertisers, and they were aware of the fact that advertisers having Coke ads in a video where Leafy ruthlessly bullies a child, right? And like gets a bunch of his commenters to go say KYS to them could probably be a bad look. And they ended up ultimately proving themselves right in their concern, because later on the adpocalypse happened and it was horrible for them, and they had to restructure their entire YouTube monetization system and create this approval system to mark if videos should be monetized or not. It really bit them in the ass. They were right to be concerned about that ultimately, if you're thinking about their business. And so I think that it makes sense that YouTube would be concerned about this to an extent. Leafy left a day before the time Logan Paul did this for us. If Leafy was really greedy, he would have not left that time just to milk it. Yeah, I feel like the greed aspect of his life probably had fallen off at that point in time, at least in the spirit that he was willing to milk videos constantly and enjoy it enough that he was still wanting to make money off of that purely. He had made enough money at that point. I think at one point he or someone else had claimed he had made $4 million, right? I don't think that's harassment, to be honest. You can make hundreds of videos in any given person. If it was about a celebrity, I don't think we call it harassment. I mean, I don't think that necessarily making a video about someone criticizing them is harassment. The problem is that Leafy's audience at the time was rather toxic, and so a lot of them did go over and tell people to, you know, KYS and stuff like that, right? Like, that was an aspect of it. I don't think making commentary videos inherently is harassment. But there's also an aspect of it where if you're making a video about a celebrity, right? Let's say you are making a video about a celebrity. You're probably not going to have a super hard time from that celebrity because they might not even see it because they're so famous. They might not even see the video. And if they do see the video, they're not going to respond. They're not going to get a bunch of like people who watch their movies watching that video about them to be like, oh, I hate his movies now. I'm going to go comment on his Instagram, right? But if you exist in the same realm as someone else, like if you make a YouTube video about another YouTuber, it's not really your fault if they get a bunch of pushback and from commenters if you don't encourage it, but they might get some. We're talking about Jax Films, not Leafy. Oh, well, if that's the case, I mean, obviously I wouldn't say that what Jax Films was doing was harassment, but I would say that YouTube viewed it that way because YouTube, for some reason, I think they have some concern about if you make too many videos about a person in a row. Like if you make like 10 videos about one guy in a row every single day, I think YouTube doesn't really like that.
This meeting had one objective: to decide what to do with what YouTube referred to as unwanted channels. Earlier in this video, I mentioned how becoming a big channel also makes you a big target, and back when Leafy was rising up the ranks, he attracted attention from more than just edgy teenagers. Apparently, YouTube had become well aware of Leafy's meteoric rise, and they wanted none of it. They most likely felt that Leafy's method of borderline cyberbullying people for fame would set a dangerous precedent for YouTube as a whole. YouTube's higher-ups supposedly threw around ideas of channel deletion and direct censorship, but they ultimately decided against both of those, and settled on a much more discreet option of getting rid of Leafy and channels like him. 3 months later, YouTube would quietly release the system we now know as demonetization. It took over a year after that before YouTubers started to realize that demonetization affected much more than ad revenue. We began to notice that demonetized videos...
This is a very frustrating thing, and I think that YouTube several times has lied and been like, oh, demonetization has no effect, and that's not the case. Getting a video with limited ads, in my experience, has definitely hurt its viewership. Especially getting a video age restricted will kill its viewership. So yeah, the idea that demonetization has no effect is straight up just not the case. That's just wrong. But YouTube, I feel like they felt pressure to do this. And I know they felt pressure to do this because of the adpocalypse and the way all of that went, where advertisers were boycotting, they were threatening to pull out, and YouTube had to create this system to satiate and placate them, basically. And there will probably be another adpocalypse on YouTube at some point in time, who knows when.
Would directly correlate with poorer video performance, uncovering a massive system of indirect censorship where affected videos would show up far less in viewers' recommendations. After further research, YouTubers discovered an entire underground rating system that affects the monetization status of entire channels.
Another interesting thing is YouTube's, the CPM you get on videos is affected by the content, right? So I've heard before from this guy that did like real estate content, he told me that he made a ton of money off of videos that are getting like 50, 60,000 views, which typically, I mean, you make some money off of it on YouTube, but he was making like 3 times what you typically make because it was in like the real estate area, right? And the ads pay much higher on that. Or if you make finance content, they can make a bunch of money. Or if you make toy content, because there's so many advertisers advertising to kids who want to buy toys, right? I think you'll get a ton of ad revenue from those kind of areas.
So, based on what we now know today, is it not reasonable to infer that YouTube may have covertly injected an early version of this system into Leafy's channel? In other words, did Leafy become the...
Wasn't that because PewDiePie dressed up as Hitler? He didn't dress up as Hitler. He wore a German officer's uniform, I believe, once. But, I mean, it was partially because of PewDiePie and, like, the media's coverage of that, which was pretty disingenuous. But it's partially because of that and them sending that to advertisers like Disney. But it was also partially because of... there were a few videos on YouTube that were, like, obviously very rare examples, but it was, like, video that endorses this crazy ideology, terrorism, whatever it may have been, right? Video that has Coke ad on it. Coke, what do you think about this? And so Coke feels pressure from that. They're like, well, we don't want to be seen as endorsing that. And so then, you know, these media outlets like the Wall Street Journal were able to disingenuously represent the case to these advertisers that they were going to get a bunch of pushback for this content on YouTube, which generally everybody understands that, you know, YouTube has so much content, they can't approve everything, right? They can't review every single piece of content. But generally, it's you know, advertisers, I think, might get a little scared by that. But the journalists at the time were just coming for YouTube, I think, out of spite, maybe jealousy. It's hard for me to totally tell. I don't think they had some genuine moral opposition to it. Because some of them even lied about the circumstances of the content and try to, like, slander PewDiePie in various ways.
First secret victim of YouTube's demonetization system? I think it's highly likely. What else could be responsible for all of the strange patterns in Leafy's data?
It was Russian. It was not Swedish. It was a British field officer's uniform. Oh, okay. I was wrong.
It's just too much of an anomaly to happen under natural circumstances.
But there was, like, the clip where he was like, he got the Fiverr Indians to be like, subscribe to Keemstar to all J boys. Remember that?
Something had to be pulling.
Definitely pretty edgy looking back. You can't get away with that on YouTube now. I like the fact he was pushing the envelope, though. That was a funny era.
The strings behind the scenes. And I think that thing was YouTube tweaking the visibility of Leafy's videos. It makes perfect sense on YouTube's end. They were worried about Leafy gaining too much influence and turning YouTube's culture toxic. They wanted to stop him, but they didn't want anyone to know they were deliberately interfering with the growth of a YouTube channel. Now consider this. Leafy can't gain any more influence if the algorithm doesn't spread his videos to new people. And people won't notice which videos YouTube isn't recommending them. And if you pay attention, you can see the extent to which YouTube has hidden Leafy's videos. Let's look at YouTube search. If you search up any channel you can imagine right now on YouTube, you're pretty much guaranteed to find videos from that channel in the first few results of the search. However, if you search for Leafy's channel on YouTube, the first results you see aren't Leafy's videos, but other people's videos about...
In fairness, I think one aspect of this, if I wanted to make a counter argument and play devil's advocate or whatever you want to call it, would be that this happens with a lot of other channels if they don't post content. If you don't post content and then a bunch of people make videos about you, when you look up that person's name, you're going to see videos about them. You're not going to see videos that they make. Like with Tipster, for example, I remember Tipster complaining to YouTube. They were like, how come when you look up my name on YouTube, everybody's making videos about me and those are the ones that show up above my channel? And the simple explanation why is because those videos are getting views, right? When you look up Tipster, the videos are getting views are not videos that Tipster makes. They're videos about him. And the same was happening with Leafy. Search favors recent videos and videos that are recently getting views.
Out Leafy. Here's another example. Leafy's channel once peaked at nearly 5 million subscribers. So based on that stat, how many views do you think his most viewed video has? For comparison, I have around 270,000 subscribers, and my most viewed video has over 5 million views. It's very common for YouTube channels to have their most popular video with a view count several factors above their subscriber count. So considering Leafy's sub count was nearly 5 million at one point, you'd expect his most viewed video to have around 15, 20, or 30 million views. Leafy's most viewed video has just over 8 million views, not even double his subscriber count. It's bizarre, and it's probably way...
In fairness, I don't think that this is necessarily evidence of YouTube conspiring against him. Part of this is also because Leafy uploaded every single day, right? He uploaded every single day with a lot of content that was relatively interchangeable. Now, some of the videos would get more views because they had a better title, or they came out at the right point in time, or they were a little more funny. They had a better better thumbnail title, all that stuff, right? They would do better. But realistically, he was uploading every single day. A lot of the content was interchangeable. So it makes sense that there wouldn't be one particularly viral video. Like if you look up, let's see here, someone like Critical, right? Penguin Zero. This guy's most popular video ever has 26 million views. His sub count is 16.4 million, right? And this video is very unique compared to his other content. Same with this other video. Same with this video. Same with this. These top 4 videos are all unique compared to his regular content, right? This is a 1 minute and 38-second clip. This is a video about slapping. This is a video about the most evil live stream ever where he actually does a high effort video and documents something. This is a video about him being in a movie. These are unlike the rest of his content. And so it makes sense that, you know, out of all the content he makes, which a lot of it is very varied, a few of them would really pop off because they do really well and appeal to a lot of people or are better videos. With Leafy, every video he made was basically the same exact thing every single time. Same thing with idubbbz. If you look up idubbbz, there's more videos about him than idubbbz uploads. Is that true? To an extent, yes. I mean, he has been uploading more recently, so you get his actual videos that are getting more views than the videos about him. But yeah, there are a lot of videos about him that have gotten a lot of views. Definitely, like around the time Creator Clash was going on, I think if you looked up idubbbz when he wasn't posting, most of it would be about him rather than content he made.
Less than you expected. It's almost as if Leafy's videos have never been spread beyond his core audience. There's one more little wrinkle to this theory that I discovered. Out of all the episodes of Content Cop, the Leafy Content Cop was the only one that YouTube put at the top of trending for more than 24 hours. And I found this fact the most interesting of all.
That is interesting,
If this theory were true, Content Cop would be the perfect...
How crazy is it that somebody at YouTube hand-selected a video where idubbbz calls a child retarded to be on their trending tab? How crazy is that? That will never happen again.
...cover-up for Leafy's downfall. You may not believe it. You may think that Leafy's sudden and indefinite decline happened organically. You may think that Tower Dog just made up his allegations of YouTube's secret meeting.
I doubt he made it up. I could believe this. I just don't know that all of the reasons Emp gives, looking back, are the most convincing. But I think it is possible that this is the case. I wouldn't totally doubt that there was some kind of thing going on where YouTube, seeing how controversial Leafy was and how, you know, outside looking in, if the average person sees this, if a 50-year-old man or a 50-year-old wine mom sees that on YouTube, they might not like it. And they might be concerned about Coke advertising on his channel. It's not totally insane to me that YouTube would try to have some kind of effect on him, you know, for their own benefit. I wouldn't be shocked if they did that.
You may think that all the research and evidence related to YouTube's indirect censorship is bogus. And even if you are the most skeptical person on the web about this theory, let me just ask you one thing. Have you ever seen a Leafy video in your recommendations after 2016? Or maybe everything I just said is wrong, and Leafy's downfall was actually caused by Mr. Darkness's curse.
Ladies and gentlemen, the death spell has been turned off. Drummler Nation.
No, I still have to like do the if I want the spell to end, I have to do the counter spell.
Tom, do you think the Stop Gooning movement you have spearheaded has had widespread success? How negative an impact is gooning having on the younger generation, in your opinion? I mean, there is a little bit of truth to the saying. It's mostly a joke, but I definitely think that the less you jerk off, or the less you jerk off to porn at the very least, the better off you'll be. So, I don't know. Hopefully the memes had an effect on at least one person, but to be honest, that's not my greatest concern. My greatest concern is that it's funny and it looks good on a t-shirt and a hat. So, yeah. On that note, I have to piss real bad, but I'll be right back, okay? But I do have to piss so bad. Hello, chat. Why am I having fun? Because it's a fun song. It'll change the game, dude. Game-changing, cultural-defining song. It's a great song. I feel like I'm Unk at 22, dude. Well, especially because the average age of, like, a YouTuber is, like, younger than in other industries. So within 3 years, I'll be, like, relatively mature age by YouTube standards. Although I guess things are kind of changing where a lot of YouTubers are, you know. People used to say you only have 4 years, 3 years to be popular on YouTube, maybe 5 at max. That's not really the case now. It doesn't seem to be the case to me. Philip DeFranco's been popular for like 15 years. He's still doing it.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the rise and fall of LeafyIsHere, from beginning to end. So what did we learn? Well, I think the story of LeafyIsHere is a cautionary tale of what happens when a YouTuber becomes too popular too quickly. A lot of people will tell you that Leafy deserved all the punishment he got, given the 12 or so months of unleashing his toxic fanbase on unsuspecting victims across YouTube. Leafy's ultimate fate of mass public humiliation and ridicule seemed like a fitting end to one of the most notorious figures on this website. But if you look past the hate, if you look past the drama, Past the fame, the fortune, and the fans, you may realize that Leafy was only 20 years old at the peak of his fame. That's the same age I am now. And oddly enough, looking back at Leafy's YouTube career, I noticed a lot of parallels between him and me. We both started making videos many years ago, built up a moderate audience from making a consistent type of video.
This is definitely something that a lot of people, I think, covering Leafy don't think about. And it's fine because, you know, it makes sense because a lot of people who were watching him at the time were watching Content Cop were teenagers themselves or at his age, right? And like when you're 20, you're not forgiving of someone who's 20 when they f up, right? But when you're 40 and you hear that somebody who's 20 years old made a big mistake, you're generally like, oh, he'll get over it, right? It'll be fine. It'll be whatever. No big deal, right? Because people who are 40 have perspective. They have experience. They have seen and they remember when they were 20, the other 20-year-olds around them messing up and themselves as a 20-year-old messing up in their career, you know, and it becomes less, oh my God, it's so over, and more like, oh, he made some mistakes. Maybe he could come back, you know? You never really know. It is very nuts that he was like, still to this day, he's remembered as one of the most influential drama creators on YouTube. And when he was 20, he left. He was 20 or 21 when he left YouTube. I'm older now than Leafy was when he got to like 5 million subscribers. That's crazy to think about.
Video for many years, only to suddenly pivot to making more outspoken commentary videos. Maybe it's all just a coincidence, but to be honest, I think there's a little bit of Leafy in all of us. What person doesn't want to become a famous and successful YouTuber?
I mean, there's definitely a little bit of Leafy in a lot of people. Do you think that all 5 million people that were watching him were were just like ruthless bullies who wanted to see people fall? Or do you think that there's a little bit of that in everyone? When people talk about how they don't like drama or they don't care about drama, or they're like, none of this matters, I'm so above this. It's so cringe to hear that and then watch them go watch a soap opera or watch them go like listen to some like political content, right? Because at the end of the day, you can argue like, oh, this is more important. This actually matters. Okay? But in a couple thousand years, none of it will matter. We're all just here trying to waste our time until we die. Eventually, the sun will swallow up the earth. None of it will matter. We're here trying to waste our time and, you know, laugh a little bit while we can entertain ourselves. And that's not to say that Leafy and the stuff he discusses is as serious as somebody, you know, who makes like serious political content discussing these issues. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is like this idea, this elitism that like, oh, I just don't like drama is wrong. You just get it in different places.
Why do you think people spend so much time and effort putting themselves into this virtual box that, in all likelihood, everyone will ignore? It's because everyone is chasing that same dream, that image of a guy with a mansion and a Lamborghini who got rich from playing video games all day. We fixate ourselves on the idea of making it big on YouTube, but very few of us actually think about what we'll do once we get there. Leafy, without a doubt, started off just like the rest of us, except he actually got to experience that dream as a reality, and once he got there, he didn't know how to handle it. He wasn't mature enough. He abused his power. He let his rabid fan base run roughshod. He took advantage of his friends. He surrounded himself with a cult of personality, and he didn't realize he was doing anything wrong until it was too late. Leafy had become consumed by YouTube fame, and it blinded him from his flawed reality. He was thrust into the spotlight before he was ready, and much like the fable of Icarus, Leafy rose too quickly and flew too close to the sun, which immediately sent him crashing back down to Earth. But was that really Leafy's fault? His only real crime was making the same toxic videos that YouTube's algorithm validated in the first place.
Which everybody liked and everybody wanted at the time. Leafy got really no pushback for being a bully. The only pushback he got was from another bully. In hindsight, everybody can look at this and be like, oh, it was such a fucked up time. And I really, to be honest, I don't like the fact that Leafy was bullying kids. I don't like that. But everybody was doing it. Everybody liked it. And you were all a part of it.
He did what any other YouTuber would have done. He found a formula that got views and stuck to it. Is it really fair to judge Leafy for not anticipating that the same videos that brought him everything he ever wanted would also lead to his downfall? It really makes you wonder, if Leafy had risen to popularity much more gradually, would he have made those same mistakes? And as much as you may dislike Leafy's content, you have to admit that he did have a few redeeming qualities. There's no denying that Leafy was a captivating and charismatic speaker. Let's just say there's a reason Leafy convinced almost 5 million people to subscribe to him in just a year. Additionally, Leafy provided a very alternative style and tone.
For the time, he definitely was captivating. I think now, I think that his, like, if Leafy existed today just as he was, I don't think a lot of people would like him. Because a lot of people say, like, oh, YouTube was so much better. Leafy was edgy. He was the OG edgy guy. But you got to keep in mind, back in the day, Leafy was even criticizing Keemstar for saying the N-word. He was calling him a racist for saying that. He was like, oh, it goes beyond jokes and irony. It's not satire at that point. And a lot of people like me who like Leafy now would never make that argument. But you do have to remember that, you know, he's a very fallible guy. He made a lot of arguments that, looking back, I would hate. But you can, at the same time, he was a kid. I don't know. It's hard to blame him too much considering his young age.
To everything else that was popular on YouTube at the time. Call me a contrarian, but for a while it was somewhat refreshing to see a popular YouTuber who wasn't cut from the same cookie-cutter template as the rest of them. Leafy was just some unattractive guy making videos in his dimly lit bedroom, and that was all he needed to appeal to people. And finally, you have to admit that back when Leafy was this huge supervillain of the internet, YouTube was a lot more interesting for everybody. Do you ever think that maybe, if at any point during his rise to fame, Leafy had stopped for a second and exercised just a little bit of humility and empathy for his victims, would he have changed his ways? And if so, would he still be as hated? Would Leafy still be around today?
I remember Colossal is Crazy after this did an interview with Emp Lemon where he said that he thought Leafy was like borderline sociopathic. And to be honest, I think that probably is somewhat true. I mean, I don't want to be a mental health diagnosis guy here, but he just doesn't seem to really feel bad for other people very much. And since then, I don't know that he's really changed as a person that much. That young age, bro was at Unk 20 years old. Yeah, 20-year Unk, it's over for you. But YouTube was a funny era. YouTube was better during the Leafy era. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to say. Sometimes I feel like I have rose-tinted glasses about it. And if I was existing during that time period, I'd be saying YouTube before then was better, you know? Hindsight is never 20/20. People always say it is, but it's not. Hindsight is like 1/1 because you just imagine that YouTube was so much better back then. I did like a lot of the content, and it definitely defined the humor I had and the content I would make in the future, but I don't know. It's hard for me to say just how amazing it was. I might have just been in high school.
And that's what makes the tragedy of LeafyIsHere so frustrating. He had the potential to be one of the greatest YouTubers of all time. He could have changed the way we look at popular YouTubers. He could have opened the door for so many others who didn't fit the mold of the attractive vlogger with a Lamborghini in his mansion. But he didn't do any of that, all because he wouldn't stop roasting people for being cringy. 2 years later, and it was as if Leafy was never here at all. When I first started researching this topic, I expected to find myself hating Leafy like everybody else. What I found, however, was a whole lot sadder. When you look back at all the popular YouTubers who battled Leafy back in 2016, H3H3, Keemstar, idubbbz, all of them went on to have very successful and lucrative YouTube careers. And when you remember that at one time,
Well, still successful and lucrative in some ways. I don't know how much money Keemstar makes off content anymore. He seems like a rather shrewd business guy, so maybe he's still making a bunch of money. For Pyrocynical, he's still making money. For idubbbz, I don't think he's making much money anymore. For H3, he makes most of his money, I think, from Teddy Fresh. He definitely makes money from YouTube, but since then, he's obviously become very hated. We've made $5 this stream. Literally, Reznov, thank you for the $5. $5? All you have is $5? So he's saying he'd pave the way for unattractive people? No, Plushies DX. What he's saying is that it was interesting to see how, at a time when YouTube was was full of a lot of family-friendly content, a lot of like attractive bloggers that, you know, were partially popular because of their looks. It was interesting to see this scruffy little kid in his bedroom making videos and getting huge.
Leafy was more popular than all of those channels. It makes his demise seem like that much more of a missed opportunity. And in a cruel twist of fate, the death of Leafy's channel breathed life into so many others that are currently thriving. It seems like anybody involved with Leafy eventually came out on top, at the expense of Leafy himself.
I think that it's very possible that YouTube did that and they had some hands in it. I think regardless if they had or not, I still think Leafy would have fallen off because he didn't evolve. He didn't change his content. He didn't become a better YouTuber. He kept posting the same quote-unquote slop over and over. And there was never any evolution. So I think he would have fallen off regardless if he had continued on that path. But it is interesting to look back at one of the titans of commentary YouTube and see where he came from, where he went. And, you know, ultimately Leafy came back. But I think a lot of that was kind of an afterthought, in my opinion, you know. This is the real interesting story. When he came back, it was still interesting. It was funny to watch. But I feel like it didn't really have the great arc that this did. So, great video by Emperor Lemon. Crazy to look back at Leafy's career. See the rise and fall. One of the best video essays on YouTube, one of my favorites, so subscribe to Emp Lemon if you aren't already subscribed. What unhinged thing did Leafy say after this again? What do you mean? What unhinged, what are you talking about? On Twitter? I mean, there were a lot of them. There were quite a few of them, buddy. The latest Leafy update I saw was someone took a picture of him at an airport.
Slop Live. Today's Slopic is about Leafy. If you weren't aware, a month ago we reported on LeafyIsHere's apparent death, but it turns out he's alive and has been sighted in an airport. I'm not too sure where he's going, hopefully to Turkey for a hair transplant, but glad to announce that he is still alive. Now, one of the 20 researchers I hired did make the grave mistake of telling me Leafy was dead, and he has been fired and shot. We'd like to uphold the artistic...
Well, thank God. Thank God he's gone, dude. That's what we needed to see. He had to go. All right, chat. With that being said, Leafy's skinny now? I don't think he's skinny. He lost some weight, but he needs to go to the gym. Maybe get on steroids. Maybe that's what he needs. Who knows? It's hard for me to exactly say. Feeling a sense of melancholy after that. A little sense of melancholy for sure. My hard drive's getting full again from this stream. Gotta wipe some content real quick.